Chapter 1262. Xian Yinqing was like a demoness. Her long hair fluttered in the wind, and her demonic qi was vast and mighty. She took light steps in the air and walked towards Xian Yinjuan step by step. "I won't lose to you." Xian Yinjuan's beautiful face was distorted with anger and excitement. The bloodline that she had transformed into bloomed with holy light. She used all her strength to send out a palm strike towards Xian Yinqing. Xian Yinqing also raised her jade-like hand and lightly struck out with her palm. Bam! The two palms collided, and the holy light was instantly suppressed. The demonic qi was vast and mighty, destroying the holy light as easily as crushing rotten wood. Whoosh! Whoosh! Then, Xian Yinqing waved her hand, and a black lotus condensed and fell on Xian Yinjuan's body. Xian Yinjuan's bloodline seemed to be under endless pressure. Deep marks appeared on her body, and then she collapsed. Xian Yinjuan's figure appeared in the rain of light. Her beautiful face was pale, and the blood in her mouth drifted in the air like bright red plum blossoms. Xian Yinqing continued to step forward and sent out a palm strike, bombarding Xian Yinjuan's body. Xian Yinqing groaned and spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. Her body seemed to have been electrocuted, and she flew far away and fell on the battle stage. How could this be? Outside, Wang Zhen was dumbfounded. He found it hard to believe. After this period of time, he had a good understanding of Xian Yinjuan. Not only was she beautiful, but she was also astonishingly talented. With the help of the Wang family and her own fortuitous encounters, her cultivation had advanced by leaps and bounds. In just a few months, she had reached the 6th-level spirit god realm. Even he felt inferior to such talent. Originally, he thought that Xian Yinqing would win for sure, but he didn't expect that Xian Yinjuan would be defeated so easily. This woman is naturally suited for the demonic Tao. Our sky demonic sect wants her. The experts from the Sky Universe Demon sect looked at Xian Yinqing with gleaming eyes. She just has a higher cultivation. The other girl is not bad either. My Heavenly God sect wants her. The white-haired elder from the Heavenly Divinity sect looked at Xian Yinjuan. Around them, the others were extremely envious. The examination was not over yet, but the two of them had already been selected by the two major forces. They would definitely be able to join the two major forces, regardless of the results of the later examinations. Impossible. On the battle platform, Xian Yinjuan cried out in disbelief. Her hair was disheveled and she was in an extremely sorry state. She didn't look like the peerless princess at all. As proud as she found it hard to accept this result. In the divine wilderness continent, she was high and mighty, second only to Long Chen. Ever since she was young, she had been shrouded in limitless light. She was the moon surrounded by stars and was the focus of the world. On the other hand, Xian Yinqing was the opposite of her. He was ostracized by the imperial family and despised by the Xia family. He didn't even have the chance to appear in front of others. Compared to Xian Yinjuan, they were like heaven and earth. In the past, she had never thought that Xian Yinqing would be able to defeat her one day. Therefore, when this day came, she was at a loss, as if she was in a dream. What pure bloodline of the Xia family! In our eyes, you guys are just self-righteous people who are deceiving yourselves. In fact, you are weak. Today, I defeated you. In the future, Xia Qitian will also be defeated by me. I will let the world know that your so-called pure bloodline is just a joke. Therefore, I won't kill you today. Get lost. As Xian Yinqing spoke, he waved his hand. A palm wind rose and sent Xian Yinjuan flying far away. The space distorted and Xian Yinjuan's figure was sent out. Yinjuan, are you okay? As soon as Xian Yinjuan appeared, Wang Zhen flew over and asked about his well-being. I'm fine. Xian Yinjuan said, but his eyes were extremely cold. Then he glanced at Wang Zhen and said, "You lost too? Who did you meet?" "Lu Ming." Wang Zhen hesitated at first, then gritted his teeth and said, "Lu Ming again." Xian Yinjuan clenched his fists tightly. At this time, the battles on the various fighting platforms had almost come to an end. Those who could reach this stage were all very strong. However, compared to the small group of people who were at the top, the gap was obvious. Therefore, the battles didn't take long. At this stage, there were only 25 people left. These 25 people were all very strong. For example, the top geniuses of the four directions divine palaces, and the second and third geniuses of the two continents. What was worth mentioning was that there were also many dark horses. Among the 25 people, only 18 of them had stepped onto Big Dipper Peak before. The remaining 7 were newcomers, such as Lu Ming, Long Chen, and Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming, Long Chen, and Xian Yanqing seemed to be from the same continent. At this time, someone said in surprise, "It can't be. From the same continent? It can't be. Other than the Divine Ruins continent, there are only 3 people from the Blood Yang continent who can reach this stage. If these 3 are from the same continent, wouldn't they be on par with the Blood Yang continent? By the way, which continent are they from?" "I know, they're from the Divine Wilderness continent." "What? Divine Wilderness continent? It can't be, right? That small continent?" There was a burst of discussion. When the crowd knew that Lu Ming and the other 2 were from the Divine Wilderness continent, they were all stunned and in disbelief. The Divine Wilderness continent could give birth to so many geniuses? Moreover, Xian Yinjuan should also be from the Divine Wilderness continent and had been chosen by the Heavenly God sect. If that was the case, the Divine Wilderness continent was too shocking. Outside, the crowd was discussing in surprise. Lu Ming and the others had already stepped into the void passage behind them. Not long after Lu Ming stepped into the void passage, he was faced with a storm of attacks. Figures condensed and charged towards Lu Ming. At the same time, inscriptions filled the void passage, forming an even more terrifying attack. This stage did not test anything else but pure combat strength and combat experience. If one wanted to pass this stage, they would have to fight their way through. Lu Ming unleashed his dragon power and crushed his way through. However, the further he went, the stronger the attacks on Lu Ming, and the greater the resistance. Even with Lu Ming's combat strength, he had to put in some effort. Outside the void passage, there were flashes of light from time to time. It was the experts who were eliminated and sent out. It can't be. This stage is so difficult that even such geniuses are eliminated. Some people secretly clicked their tongues. Those who could reach this step and enter the top 25 were all amazing geniuses. However, there were still people who were eliminated. It was obvious that this stage was too difficult. That's Xueku, the second-ranked genius of the Blood Yang continent. And Ice Dragon, one of the 4 strongest geniuses of the North Divine Palace, was also eliminated. This is too shocking. The space flickered again and again as geniuses were sent out. Ice Dragon's face was gloomy. He felt extremely embarrassed that he could not even pass the stage. Did you notice that the 3 geniuses from the Divine Wilderness continent were not eliminated? It's true. Could it be that they can pass? This is too unbelievable. Some people thought of Lu Ming and the other 2. Chapter 1263. In the end, even geniuses like Ji Hongchen were sent out of the 4 sacred palaces. Look, someone passed. Suddenly, someone shouted. In front of them, a dot of light lit up, and a figure appeared within the dot of light. It's Eden, the Eden of the East Sacred Palace. It's really Eden. It's not Lu Ming, nor is it Bing Kong. It seems like Eden's combat strength is terrifying. The fact that Eden was the first to appear surprised everyone. After all, Lu Ming's performance was very strong. Many people thought that Lu Ming would be the first to pass. This time, it wasn't a battle stage that appeared in the light spot, but a platform that could only accommodate one person. Wang. At this moment, another light spot appeared not far from where Eden was. This time, a figure appeared. It was the strongest genius of the North Sacred Palace, Bing Kong. Similarly, there was only a platform beneath Bing Kong's feet. He stood on the platform and looked at Eden with sharp eyes. It seemed like they could see each other. Eden also looked at Bing Kong. There seemed to be sparks between the two of them. The second to succeed is Bing Kong, not Lu Ming. It seems like I overestimated him. It's very normal. The first few stages tested one's willpower. Lu Ming's willpower is strong, but it doesn't mean that his combat ability can overpower everyone. Eden, Bing Kong, and the rest are extremely terrifying and have unparalleled combat ability. I'm afraid they can defeat young Master Lin. Shoo, lower your voice. Some people discussed, but they quickly shut up and looked in the direction of the Heavenly Divinity sect. Unfortunately, although their voices were soft, young Master Lin still heard them. This made his face even darker. In the void tunnel, Lu Ming was still trying to pass the stages. However, he didn't use his strongest combat strength, nor did he use the bloodline fusion. He only used the power of 9 dragons, the intent realm, and the suppressing hell skill to pass the stages. I feel like my water intent is about to break through. In the midst of the battle, Lu Ming's lips curled into a smile. His concept of thunder, concept of fire, and concept of wind had already broken through to the peak of the 4th level when he was in the ruins of God. His concepts of earth and water were still at the peak of the 4th level. Now, after a series of great battles, the concept of water finally showed signs of breaking through. As such, Lu Ming wasn't in a hurry. He focused on operating his concepts to resist the outside world. He couldn't miss such an opportunity. If he missed it, he didn't know when he would be able to break through again. Lu Ming's speed of clearing the levels gradually slowed down. As time passed, the number of people who succeeded gradually increased. Following Eden and Bing Kong were Ziwu Ji, Jian Zhan, and Xue Mingyang. Behind Xue Mingyang and the other two, a young man with skin as hard as iron stepped forward. Everyone recognized that this person was the number 1 genius of the 3rd continent, Tai Hong of the Divine Iron Continent. Soon, a stunning woman appeared. This person was also a dark horse. She had risen from a small continent and had attracted many people's attention. Now, she was the 7th person to succeed. Lu Ming hasn't appeared yet. It seems like his battle strength isn't ridiculously strong. That's right. Many people were discussing. This made young Master Lin's face even gloomier. His heart was conflicted. First, he thought that Lu Ming couldn't pass and was eliminated. However, this meant that Lu Ming's battle strength was low. But if Lu Ming, who had low battle strength, could defeat him, didn't that mean that he was even worse? Now, hearing others say that Lu Ming's battle strength wasn't good, he felt very uncomfortable. It's all that Lu Ming's fault. Young Master Lin secretly gritted his teeth. In the void, there were 7 spots of light. Each spot of light was a platform, and the 7 people stood on each platform. It was as if there was a transparent bubble in the void, wrapping around each platform in an arc. They could see each other. Wang. At this moment, another spot of light appeared, and a figure appeared on the platform. It was Long Chen. The 8th person to appear was Long Chen. That's Long Chen from the Divine Wilderness Continent. He's only at the 7th level of the spiritual god realm. It's unbelievable that he could pass the challenge. Yeah. Even Ice Dragon and Ji Hongchen, who were at the 8th level of the spiritual god realm, were eliminated. He can pass the challenge with his 7th level of the spiritual god realm cultivation. Long Chen's appearance caused a wave of discussion. It was extremely shocking. The ancient dragonesque elephant bloodline, one of the top 10 battle beasts. It's unfathomable and unpredictable. The eyes of the experts from the Divine Dragon Valley were burning. The other 3 forces were also tempted. It was extremely rare to awaken such a bloodline, even in the Yuan continent. Immediately after Long Chen, another dot of light appeared. Then, a beautiful woman walked out from the dot of light. Xian Yanqing. Many people's hearts skipped a beat, and they were surprised. Obviously, they didn't expect the person to be Xian Yanqing. Xian Yanqing was the same as Long Chen. He was also at the 7th level of the spiritual god realm. Even the experts of the Yuan continents for major forces were surprised that he could pass the challenge. How is this possible? Seeing Xian Yanqing's figure appear, Xian Yanquan's body trembled violently. His face was filled with disbelief, and he couldn't accept it. Xian Yanqing could pass the challenge, which meant that he didn't use much of his strength in the battle with her. This was a huge blow to her. Due to jealousy, the muscles on her face were slightly contorted, making her look ferocious. Xian Yanqing and Long Chen looked at each other and nodded slightly. They then looked around, and when they didn't see Lu Ming's figure, they were surprised. In their opinion, Lu Ming should have passed the challenge long ago. He will definitely succeed. It's just that he was delayed by something. Xian Yanqing muttered. She had full confidence in Lu Ming. Everyone waited quietly. After a while, 15 people had been eliminated. There were originally 25 people, but now 15 people had been eliminated. 9 people had passed the challenge, and 1 person was still trying. Obviously, that person was Lu Ming. What's going on? Lu Ming hasn't come out yet. He hasn't been eliminated, and he hasn't passed the challenge. It's really strange. What's so strange about it? I reckon that his combat strength isn't good enough. He's just struggling and can't bear to give up. Humph. He's just trash. There were also people who were disdainful and mocking. Everyone looked over and saw that it was Ice Dragon, the genius of the North Divine Palace. On the celestial god sect side, young Master Lin's face darkened again. He was so depressed that he was about to vomit blood. Lu Ming defeated him. It was an indisputable fact. Now that others were belittling Lu Ming and Lu Ming, it was the same as belittling him. They said that Lu Ming was trash. Didn't that mean that he was worse than trash? He was attacked even when he was lying down. How could he not be depressed? However, he couldn't do anything about it. Did he have to stand up for Lu Ming and teach those who belittled Lu Ming a lesson? Chapter 1264. Time passed slowly, but Lu Ming still hadn't appeared. 10 minutes, half an hour, an hour. 2 hours had passed, but Lu Ming still hadn't appeared. Some people were getting anxious. Nestle, what's going on? Lu Ming still hasn't appeared. What's going on? Did he die in there? No way. If Lu Ming died in there, the celestial sex experts would definitely know. Now that they haven't said anything, it means that Lu Ming isn't dead yet. Then why is it taking so long? After so long, even some people who thought highly of Lu Ming were shaken. Previously, Lu Ming had defeated young Master Lin, which made some people think highly of him. They thought that even if Lu Ming couldn't get first place, he would be able to get into the top 3. But now, many people were shaken. Some people even guessed that Lu Ming might have used some kind of secret technique in his battle with young Master Lin, which allowed his battle strength to skyrocket in a short period of time. However, there was a huge after-effect. At this moment, his battle strength was probably exhausted and he was struggling to hold on. As time passed, more and more people accepted this view. Lu Ming didn't know any of this. He was still in the void tunnel, resisting the attacks from all directions. Now, he was constantly weakening the power of the suppressing hell-heaven skill. He was mainly using his intent to fight and train his intent. As time passed, his understanding of the water intent grew stronger. The feeling of a breakthrough also grew stronger. After a few hours, suddenly, the blue light in the five-colored intent around Lu Ming suddenly shone brightly. The blue light represented the water intent. The water intent had broken through and reached the perfect fourth stage. Now, only the earth intent had not reached the perfect fourth stage. If the earth intent also broke through to the perfect fourth stage, then Lu Ming only needed to find time to constantly devour and refine origin stones. Then, Lu Ming's cultivation would continue to break through until he reached the perfect spirit god realm. Of course, it wasn't that easy to reach the prime stage. He needed to transform his intent into a domain. The breakthrough of the water intent had slightly increased Lu Ming's battle strength. Although it wasn't much, it was better than nothing. It's done. Lu Ming revealed a trace of a smile. He pressed down with his palm, and with the support of the five-colored wills, the power of the suppressing hell kung fu skyrocketed. Boom! 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 Lu Ming's palm was like a hell-suppressing heavenly steel, suppressing the heavens. All around, the offensive power formed by the human figures and the formation was crushed one by one. Lu Ming's speed became faster and faster. There was no way to stop him. In less than 3 minutes, Lu Ming had already covered a distance of 10 miles. In front of him, there was a platform. Lu Ming stepped onto it. He passed. It's Lu Ming. He passed. As soon as Lu Ming appeared, there was an uproar all around. It took me more than 2 hours to clear it, hee. Some people sneered and snorted disdainfully. Puff. Poof. When Lu Ming's figure appeared, the light spots that appeared in the first and second stages were like bubbles, dispersing one by one. In the end, only 10 people managed to pass the trial. As soon as Lu Ming stepped onto the platform, he looked around and saw Xian Yanqing, Long Chen, Yi Dian, Bing Kong, and the others. He exchanged glances with Xian Yanqing and smiled tacitly. Then, he nodded at Long Chen. As for Yi Dian, Bing Kong, Jian Zhan, and the others, their gazes fell on Lu Ming. Some were serious, some were disdainful, and so on. In the void, the 10 people formed a circle and floated in the air, looking at each other. At this moment, in the center of the 10 people, a light dot floated out. Slowly, a battle platform formed and floated in the center of the 10 people. It seemed that the battle of the 10 people would begin on this battle platform. Suddenly, 2 of the platforms flew toward the battle platform. Yi Dian and Tai Hong. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. The 2 people flying toward the battle platform were Yi Dian and Tai Hong. After the 2 of them flew to the battle platform, the platform under their feet disappeared automatically. The 2 of them landed on the battle platform and stood facing each other. It seemed that the battle was random. The 2 people who flew to the battle platform would be the 2 who would fight. Yi Dian, let's fight. Tai Hong's eyes were filled with battle intent. The muscles all over his body and the color of his skin were like divine iron, emitting a cold light. Come. Yi Dian said. It was very simple. He grasped the void with one hand and his true essence condensed into a 9-string zither. You don't use a real spiritual weapon? Tai Hong's eyes turned cold. When the time comes, I will use it. Yi Dian said. His voice was calm, but it revealed his confidence in himself. Humph, how arrogant. Don't regret it. Tai Hong snorted. The muscles all over his body wriggled and his body swelled up. The metallic luster became even more intense. A pair of gloves appeared in his hands. He stomped hard on the battle platform and his body turned into a black light, charging toward Yi Dian. With a punch, the entire battle platform shook violently. Clang, clang, the 9-string zither in Yi Dian's hand floated in front of him. He played the zither with one hand. Sonorous sounds filled the air. It was as if thousands of troops were on a punitive expedition. The sound of the zither was filled with cold killing intent. Tai Hong's expression suddenly changed. He shouted and punched the air with both fists. Clang! 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 Tai Hong punched the air, and the sound of metal clashing could be heard. Sparks flew from his fists. Wang! Around the battle platform, endless energy shot out. It was incomparably sharp. Luckily, there was a layer of light around the fighting stage that blocked these attacks. Whoosh! Tai Hong's body shook in midair and he took a few steps back. The 9-string zither in Yi Dian's hand also vibrated. He slid back a meter. So strong. Many people's hearts trembled. The short exchange allowed them to see the strength of the two. Tai Hong's cultivation had reached the peak of the 8th level spirit god realm. He was stronger than Bing Bing, Ji Hongchen, and the others. He wasn't weaker than young Master Lin. And Yi Dian was even more unfathomable. Many people couldn't see through Yi Dian's strength in the previous exchange. Again, godly iron sky breaker. Tai Hong roared. His entire body turned into metal. He was like an invincible god of war as he charged toward Yi Dian and used a martial technique of intent. Clang! 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 The sound of Yi Dian's zither also started to become hurried. It was as if millions of experts were fighting. The killing intent was shocking. This kind of attack could kill without leaving a trace. It was absolutely terrifying. Clang! 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 Bursts of explosions sounded in the air. They were even denser than when iron was being forged. In an instant, hundreds of sounds rang out. Tai Hong's voice was like a bell. The more he fought, the fiercer he became. Sometimes, he completely ignored his defense and attacked crazily. His body was a supreme spiritual weapon. It had unparalleled defense and unparalleled attack power. Lose for me. Tai Hong's eyes were ferocious. Chapter 1265. Tai Hong was like a war machine, as if he was made out of a piece of divine metal. His offense and defense had reached the pinnacle. He kept moving forward, breaking through Eden's Guqin music and charging towards Eden. Phoenix cry. At this moment, a clear voice came from Eden's mouth. At the same time, his Guqin music suddenly changed. It was as if a phoenix was soaring into the sky. A phoenix cry resounded through the sky. One could see a phoenix flying out of Eden's 9-string Guqin. A flaming phoenix bathed in phoenix flames flapped its wings and pounced towards Tai Hong. Bang! Bang! Tai Hong swung his fists continuously, wanting to defeat the phoenix. However, in the end, not only did he fail to defeat the phoenix, he was also pushed back by the phoenix. He was pushed back 100 meters, and his fists were burned red by the flames. Chirp! The phoenix continued to cry as flames spread out and flew towards Tai Hong. Break! Tai Hong shouted as his true yuan boiled. An Iron Man appeared on top of his head. In the ancient times, it was said that a human emperor had created an Iron Man. Tai Hong's bloodline was this Iron Man. There were 9 major meridians on his body that were like 9 small suns. They shone brightly. Tai Hong's Iron Man form was even more powerful. He kept attacking the flaming phoenix with his fists. Boom! 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 After dozens of explosions, the flaming phoenix and Tai Hong were evenly matched. It was hard to tell who would win. However, at this moment, the cry of another phoenix was heard. A cyan phoenix flew out. This azure phoenix was bathed in the power of wind. It cooperated with the flaming phoenix. With a flap of its wings, the wind helped the flames. The flames filled the sky and spread towards Tai Hong. Tai Hong was shocked. He tried his best to block, but he was still no match for the two phoenixes. He kept retreating. How powerful! Eden's strength is unfathomable. That's right. Tai Hong's cultivation has reached the peak of the 8th level of the spirit god realm. He's only a little weaker than young Master Lin, but he's no match for Eden. Eden is too powerful. He hasn't even used his bloodline yet. He hasn't even used the Guqin on his back. The onlookers stared at the battle stage and the battle between the two. Their eyes were filled with shock. They were only of the younger generation. With such strength, they could definitely fight against a prime. He could be called a supreme youth. After exchanging a few more moves, Tai Hong was no match for Chen Shi in the end, and he was completely suppressed. In the end, his bloodline was defeated, and he had no choice but to admit defeat. After Tai Hong admitted defeat, he was sent out. Suddenly, a stone staircase appeared in front of the battle platform. At the bottom of the stone staircase was a platform. Eden's figure was sent to the platform. He tried, but he couldn't climb the stairs at all. So, he stood on the platform below the stairs and watched the upcoming battle. As expected, two more platforms flew towards the middle of the fighting stage. This time, it was the beautiful lady and the other person was Bing Kong. That beautiful woman's battle prowess was also extremely terrifying. She was not weaker than Tai Hong. Unfortunately, Bing Kong was even stronger. With a wave of his hand, he could freeze everything. His intent realm martial skill had been cultivated to an unfathomable realm. It didn't take long for him to defeat the beautiful woman. The beautiful woman was teleported out, and Bing Kong, just like Eden, appeared on the platform below the stairs. Then, two more platforms flew to the fighting ring. Long Chen. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. One of them was Long Chen and the other was Jian Zhan. This battle stunned everyone. It wasn't because of Jian Zhan, but because of Long Chen. Jian Zhan's cultivation was unfathomable, and his battle prowess was extremely powerful. His sword radiance was shocking, and the power of his sword principle was strong. Everyone was prepared for it. However, Long Chen's battle prowess was beyond everyone's expectations. Long Chen's cultivation was only at the middle 7th level spirit god realm, but his battle prowess was so strong that even the experts from the Yuanlu sect were dumbfounded. Long Chen had transformed into the immemorial dragonesque elephant bloodline. With his bloodline martial skill as the main and his intent realm martial skill as the support, he unleashed an extremely terrifying battle prowess. It was as if the real immemorial dragonesque elephant was born and swept across the world. The immemorial dragonesque elephant was one of the top 10 battle beasts. It was famous for its battle prowess. Not many existences in the world could compare with its battle prowess. It was absolutely terrifying. Obviously, Long Chen had gained a lot in the ruins of God, and his battle prowess had increased. Although his cultivation was far behind Jian Zhan, he was defeated after more than 50 moves. This made Jian Zhan's face extremely gloomy. He was only dealing with a middle 7th level spirit god realm martial artist. With his battle prowess, it took him more than 50 moves to defeat Long Chen. This made him feel embarrassed. The Divine Wilderness continent is really amazing. Many people exclaimed again. 3 people from the Divine Wilderness continent had made it into the top 10. Moreover, Long Chen's battle prowess was too terrifying. My Divine Dragon Valley wants this kid. He's compatible with my Divine Dragon Valley. An expert from the Divine Dragon Valley said with a burning gaze. What a joke. Although the immemorial dragonesque elephant has the word dragon in it, it has nothing to do with a real dragon. Don't flatter yourself. I think he's suitable to join my Nine Heaven Sword sect. An expert from the Nine Heaven Sword sect sneered. In my opinion, he's the most suitable one to join my Divine Sky sect. The white-haired elder from the Divine Sky sect said. Only the Heavenly Universe Demons sect did not say anything. After all, the Heavenly Universe Demons sect cultivated the demonic Tao. If they chose the wrong person, it would be useless no matter how talented he was. After 6 consecutive battles, there were only 4 people left. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Ziwu Ji, and Xue Ming Yang. Whoosh! Whoosh! 2 of the platforms flew towards the battle stage. Lu Ming was a little stunned because these 2 people were Ziwu Ji and Xue Ming Yang. Only he and Xian Yanqing were left. In the end, it was his turn to fight with Xian Yanqing. The 2 looked at each other and smiled. Xian Yanqing showed his white teeth and waved his little fist at Lu Ming, making Lu Ming smile bitterly. The battle between Ziwu Ji and Xue Ming Yang broke out. This was the most intense battle so far. Ziwu Ji was the strongest genius of the Southern Divine Palace, while Xue Ming Yang was the strongest genius of the Blood Yang continent, which was ranked second on the continent. Their battle strength was almost the same, and the battle was extremely fierce. The 2 exchanged more than 500 moves. In the end, Ziwu Ji won and won with difficulty. This battle made everyone clearly realize how terrifying Ziwu Ji and Xue Ming Yang were. Early stage 9th level Spirit God Realm. Ziwu Ji and Xue Ming Yang's cultivation were both in the early 9th level of the Spirit God Realm. Reaching such a cultivation at such a young age was shocking. Needless to say, Sword Battle, Eden, and Bing Kong were equally famous as Ziwu Ji. Their cultivation had definitely reached the 9th level of the Spirit God Realm. This made the young men from the 4 major forces of the Yuan continent look a little solemn. Obviously, it was beyond their expectations that there would be such young geniuses in the Divine Ruins continent. After the battle between Ziwu Ji and Xue Ming Yang ended, Xue Ming Yang was sent out, and Ziwu Ji appeared on the platform below the stairs like the previous victors. Chapter 1266. The surrounding onlookers were also quite surprised. It wasn't difficult for them to see that Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were definitely lovers. But now, this pair of lovers was arranged to fight together. Everyone was very curious. What would the outcome of the battle be? On the battle stage, Lu Ming rubbed his nose helplessly. Lu Ming, why don't you admit defeat? Xian Yanqing smiled playfully. Her big eyes narrowed, revealing a sly look. I admit defeat? Sure, but... Lu Ming said as he looked at Bing Kong and the others below the stairs. Winning or losing against Xian Yanqing wasn't important at all. If Xian Yanqing asked him to admit defeat, he would admit defeat. What he was worried about was that if Xian Yanqing defeated him, he would have to face Bing Kong and the others. With Xian Yanqing's current cultivation, he was definitely not a match for Bing Kong and the others. Hee, fool, I'm just joking with you. I can't deal with those guys, so I'll leave them to you. You have to get first place, otherwise, I won't let you off. Xian Yanqing smiled, then looked around and said, I admit defeat. After Xian Yanqing said that, the space distorted and Xian Yanqing's figure was sent out. As for Lu Ming, he was teleported to the platform at the bottom of the stairs. Everyone was speechless. Lu Ming won too easily. There were a total of 5 people on the platform below the stairs. Lu Ming, Eden, Bing Kong, Jian Zhan, and Ziwu Ji. The 5 strongest supreme prides of the continent of God were born. Everyone's eyes fell on the 5 of them. Everyone's attention was on them. At this moment, the white-haired elder of the celestial god sect stepped out and said, Next, the final battle will begin. It's very simple. You all will climb this staircase. The first one to climb the stairs will be the first, the second one will be the second, and so on. You can use any means on the stairs. As the white-haired old man's words fell, Bing Kong, Yi Dian, and the others' eyes lit up. They looked at each other warily. Bang! Bang! Suddenly, the five of them stepped out at the same time and headed up the stairs. As he stepped down, the stairs rumbled, as if a mountain had landed on the stairs. What a strong pressure! As soon as Lu Ming stepped onto the stairs, he felt a boundless pressure pressing down on his body. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. This staircase was indeed not that simple. Standing on the first step, the five of them were on guard against each other, preventing each other from attacking. Lu Ming, what qualifications do you have to be with us? Get the hell out of here. At this moment, Bing Kong looked at Lu Ming coldly and scolded him. Ice Dragon had been defeated by Lu Ming and had always held a grudge. He had secretly asked Bing Kong to avenge him if he had the chance. At this moment, Bing Kong immediately made his move. Moreover, the five people on the stage were Yi Dian, Jian Zhan, and Zi Wuji. They were the strongest sky prides of the Four Directions deity palaces and were equally famous. As for Lu Ming, what was he? How could he stand with them and compete with them? He wanted to blast Lu Ming down first. Shua! Bing Kong's palm blasted towards Lu Ming. The cold qi seemed to want to freeze Lu Ming's blood. Lu Ming's eyes turned cold as he struck out with his palm, colliding with Bing Kong's palm. Bang! Bing Kong's body shook slightly as he took a step back. Lu Ming's body did not move, but a cold current flowed along Lu Ming's arm and seeped into it. Lu Ming used his five-colored intent realm to resist. A layer of white frost appeared on his arm and crackled. In the end, Lu Ming circulated his true qi and shook it, dispersing the cold qi. What a terrifying cold qi! Lu Ming felt that the cold qi was several times stronger than Ice Dragon's. In a battle of the same level, Ice Dragon was not Bing Kong's opponent, not to mention that Bing Kong's cultivation was higher. You have some strength. Let's see how many moves you can take. Bing Kong's eyes darkened as the aura on his body became even colder. Extreme Ice Seal. Bing Kong continuously struck out with his palms. The extremely cold palm energy slammed towards Lu Ming. Wherever the palm energy passed, the entire space was frozen. Everything in this space became motionless. This was a martial skill of the intent realm, and it was definitely not at the third level. It should have reached the fourth level. On the side, Eden, Jian Zhan, and Zi Wuji all had grave expressions. Within Lu Ming's body, dragon power roared as all 9 dragon powers erupted. At the same time, his third bloodline emerged. A blood-red energy poured into Lu Ming's body as a terrifying murderous intent rushed towards Bing Kong. Hoo! Lu Ming circulated the suppressing hell heavenly art and punched out with both fists. Pung! 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 Qi flew out as cold qi rampaged. The terrifying cold qi turned the entire staircase white. Eden, Jian Zhan, and Zi Wuji all retreated as true qi spread out from their bodies to resist the cold qi around them. Lu Ming and Bing Kong exchanged 9 moves in a row. In the end, Lu Ming broke through Bing Kong's palm energy and charged towards him. You want me to go down first? Then I'll let you go first. Lu Ming shouted as his aura soared. The suppressing hell heavenly art in his left hand and lightning flashed in his right as he used the Thunder God Strike. The lightning phoenix danced in the air, and at the same time, the suppressing hell celestial skill pressed down on Bing Kong. Bing Kong's face was gloomy as he pushed his cultivation to the limit. At the mid-stage 9th layer spirit god realm, he was slightly stronger than Zi Wuji and Jian Zhan. His rich true qi was like a vast ocean, and when combined with his intent realm martial skill, his power was even more terrifying. Absolute Zero, Ice-Sealed World. Bing Kong's black hair turned snow-white. With a terrifying cold current, he launched a storm-like attack on Lu Ming. Boom! 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 The two fought fiercely, exchanging dozens of moves. However, Lu Ming still had the upper hand. Now, Lu Ming had 9 dragon powers in his body. When they erupted, their power was astonishing. Just like Long Chen, even if his cultivation was lacking, he could make up for it. Lu Ming broke through the endless cold qi and charged towards Bing Kong. In the end, Bing Kong was forced back by Lu Ming's fist and blood seeped out of the corner of his mouth. Following which, Lu Ming took a few steps forward. His fist force broke through the air and continuously blasted toward the ice. Bing Kong was no match for Lu Ming and was suppressed by him. His body shook violently as he retreated back down the stairs and landed on the platform below. Lu Ming, his combat power is so strong. Even Bing Kong was suppressed by him. He is indeed strong. He is only at the 8th layer Spirit God realm, a level lower than Bing Kong. But he defeated Bing Kong as the weak. He is really strong. It seems like he was delayed by something before. Otherwise, with his strength, he wouldn't have been so slow. That's right. We underestimated him. Previously, when Lu Ming was the 10th person to succeed, it took him more than 2 hours. Many people thought that Lu Ming's strength wasn't strong and that he might have relied on some kind of secret technique to fight with young Master Lin. But now, it seemed like that wasn't the case at all. Lu Ming's strength was shocking and much stronger than they had imagined. Even Bing Kong, who had reached the mid-stage 9th layer Spirit God realm, was suppressed by Lu Ming. Such strength was really shocking. Whoosh! Chapter 1267. Bing Kong was extremely aggrieved by Lu Ming's attacks and planned to use bloodline fusion to fight a decisive battle with Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming was too lazy to pay attention to him right now. He turned around and strode up the stairs. Eden, Jian Zhan, and Ziwu Ji were already struggling to climb up the stairs. Ziwu Ji, stay here. An iron sword appeared in Jian Zhan's hand and slashed towards Ziwu Ji with a sword qi. Ziwu Ji's entire body bloomed with a rich purple light that condensed into a spear that pierced through the air to meet Jian Zhan's attack. Eden carried her zither on her back and strode up the stairs. Lu Ming also quickly chased after her. Lu Ming, stay here. Bing Kong turned into an ice river and roared as he chased after Lu Ming. The ice river danced in the air and from it, ice arrows shot towards Lu Ming. Courting death. Lu Ming's eyes went cold. He had already let Bing Kong go, but this person still wanted a yard after taking an inch. He was simply courting death. Above Lu Ming's head, 9 dragons appeared. Lu Ming transformed into 9 dragons, their claws stepping on the air as they pounced towards the ice river, their terrifying power constantly colliding with the ice river. Although the ice river was constantly sending out terrifying attacks, they were all broken apart by the 9 dragons. The dragon claws constantly bombarded the ice river, causing it to boil and tremble. Damn it! From the ice river, Bing Kong's angry roar rang out. Even if he used his bloodline, he was still not Lu Ming's opponent. Jian Zhan, Ziwu Ji, Eden, let's join forces and defeat this person together. Otherwise, with him here, none of us will be able to take first place. Bing Kong shouted. This caused Jian Zhan and Ziwu Ji's eyes to flash. Indeed, Lu Ming's combat strength had exceeded their expectations. He was simply too strong. Even Bing Kong was suppressed by Lu Ming. They knew that in a one-on-one battle, they were not Lu Ming's opponent. If they allowed Lu Ming to climb with all his strength, they would not be able to take first place. If they dealt with Lu Ming first, only the four of them would be left to compete, and it would be unknown who would take first place. Clang! Suddenly, sword battle's sword light turned and slashed at Lu Ming. Ziwu Ji also rushed towards Lu Ming with his spear. They really joined forces to fight Lu Ming. So what if we join forces? Then let's have a good fight. Lu Ming roared. His blood was boiling. It had been a long time since he had used his full strength in a battle between peers. Roar! The 9 dragons let out a roar as their devouring power erupted, enveloping Bing Kong, Jian Zhan, and Ziwu Ji. At the same time, the 9 dragons took to the air as they circulated the suppressing hell heavenly art and bombarded their opponents. At the top of the stairs, explosions were unceasingly heard. The 4 of them were engaged in an intense battle. In this sword battle, Ziwu Ji used his bloodline fusion technique one after another, erupting with his strongest combat power to fight Lu Ming. For a moment, the 4 of them were actually evenly matched. Lu Ming also used all his means, including the 9 seals of the Divine Gate. This kind of secret technique was extremely powerful, causing Jian Zhan and the others to be fearful. As soon as they saw the sealed gate appear, they would try their best to avoid it. Eden stood at the top of the stairs, not continuing to climb. Instead, he stood there and watched the battle below. Geniuses had their pride. At this time, he could have taken the opportunity to climb all the way to the top of the stairs, but it would be meaningless if he did so. Even if he won, it would be meaningless because the experts of the 4 major forces of the Yuan continent would be watching. In the blink of an eye, Lu Ming and the 3 great sky prides had exchanged more than 50 moves. This made the surrounding onlookers dumbfounded and shocked. Lu Ming's combat power was too shocking. It was as if there was no limit. The stronger his opponent, the stronger he would be. Under the circumstances where his cultivation was lower, he was able to fight the 3 strongest sky prides alone. This was too shocking. Not many people had done it since ancient times. The 9 dragons' bloodline is indeed incredible. This person belongs to my Dragon God Valley. The experts of the Dragon God Valley laughed. What a joke. You don't have to join the Dragon God Valley just because you have awakened the 9 dragons' bloodline. You can still rise quickly if you join other forces. The 9 Heaven Sword Sect's expert said unhappily. That's right. The Heavenly Universe Demon Sect also spoke. Even the experts of the Heavenly Universe Demon Sect were tempted by such a person. Only the white-haired elder of the Heavenly Divinity Sect did not speak. This was because before the Dragon God Valley, the Heavenly Universe Demon Sect and the 9 Heaven Sword Sect appeared, he had personally said that he would cancel Lu Ming's assessment. Now that Lu Ming's performance was so amazing, it was like a slap to his face. He could not bring himself to fight for Lu Ming. You guys are the ones who are ridiculous. Most of the people in the Dragon God Valley have awakened the true dragon bloodline. The weakest one is the Jiao dragon bloodline. They are all related to dragons. Those who break through to the Emperor realm cultivate the dragon body. Lu Ming is the most suitable candidate to join the Dragon God Valley. What are you guys doing? The Dragon God Valley's expert said unhappily. The others did not say anything. It was meaningless to fight now. They had to wait until the end of the assessment to see Lu Ming's decision. In the Heavenly Divinity Sect, young Master Lin's face was gloomy. The one who was the most unhappy was him. On the stairs, the battle continued. The 9 dragons roared, the 9 dragon claws bombarded, and the dragon tail swept. Every inch of his body was a weapon that could exert the strongest power. The more the battle, the more shocked Bing Kong, Jian Zhan, and Ziwu Ji were because they found that they were gradually falling into a disadvantage. They had never thought that there would be such a powerful genius in the world. Even when the 3 of them worked together, they were still at a disadvantage. Before the assessment, they did not take Lu Ming seriously. Even if Lu Ming defeated young Master Lin, they did not care too much because with their battle strength, it would not be too difficult to defeat young Master Lin. In their eyes, the only opponents were the strongest geniuses of the 4 divine palaces. Bing Kong, Eden, Jian Zhan, and Zi Wuji, the only opponents in their eyes were each other. They never thought that Lu Ming, a young man who suddenly appeared, would be so powerful. Kung! Kung! At this moment, the sound of a zither rang out. At the same time, a phoenix's cry rang out. A phoenix bathed in flames flew towards Lu Ming. Eden has made his move. Bing Kong, Jian Zhan, and Zi Wuji's eyes lit up with joy. Eden finally could not help but join the battle. At this moment, Eden finally took out the guqin he carried on his back and played the divine tune of the phoenix. At this moment, the phoenix that flew out was much more powerful than the one that had appeared during his battle with Tai Hong. The 9 dragons clawed at the flaming phoenix, sending it flying. However, the scales on the 9 dragons' claws were also burned red and almost melted. The temperature of the flames was shockingly high. Then, another phoenix cry rang out. An azure phoenix flew out and cooperated with the flaming phoenix. The wind increased the intensity of the flames as they attacked Lu Ming. Good! Lu Ming shouted, his fighting spirit soaring to the heavens as he exerted all his strength to fight the 4. Eden's participation made the battle even more intense. Lu Ming used all his means to kill, the power of the suppressing hell-heaven art growing stronger and stronger. Zzz. Suddenly, lightning filled the sky and bolts of lightning as thick as an arm shot out in all directions. Chapter 1268. After an intense battle, Lu Ming's Thunder God strike finally broke through to the 4th level in one fell swoop. Intent realm martial techniques were like other martial techniques. They were also divided into 6 levels. The 4th level was already very powerful. Several dragon claws were filled with thunder and lightning. When the dragon claws stepped out, the sky was filled with thunder and lightning. Iron Sword 9 strikes. An iron sword streaked across the sky, breaking through space and slashing toward Lu Ming. Purple Chi from the east. The sky was filled with purple lights. A purple spear that was extremely sharp pierced toward Lu Ming's head. Ice Aeon. A river of ice formed by cold air rolled towards Lu Ming. Dance of the Phoenixes. A guqin appeared above Eden's head. This guqin was engraved with phoenix patterns. This was Eden's bloodline, the Phoenix Guqin. The Phoenix Guqin and the guqin in Eden's hands merged into one. Sonorous guqin sounds burst out. This time, 7 phoenixes flew out at the same time towards Lu Ming. The 4 strongest geniuses attacked at the same time. They exploded with their strongest attacks and enveloped Lu Ming. God, they're too strong. Lu Ming is definitely no match for them. He's going to lose. Someone exclaimed. However, more people stared at the stairs with their eyes wide open. They didn't even blink. They even forgot to breathe. They didn't dare to blink. They were afraid that the situation would change if they blinked. They stared at the stairs. Can Lu Ming block it? Many people had such a thought in their hearts. Lu Ming. Xian Yinqing clenched her jade-like hands tightly. She was very nervous. Lose, hurry up and lose. It would be best if you were killed by this attack and turned into ashes. Some people who had a grudge against Lu Ming secretly prayed, such as Ice Dragon, Wang Zhen, Xian Yinjuan, Young Master Lin, and others. Look, Lu Ming can't block it. His bloodline is collapsing. Really, he's done for. Lu Ming is too high profile. He's fighting alone against the top 4. His defeat is already set in stone. Exclamations of surprise could be heard. At this moment, under the joint attack of the 4 strongest heaven's favorites, the Nine Dragons' bloodline began to crumble inch by inch. It was as if it couldn't hold on any longer. It turned into light and dissipated. Everyone saw Lu Ming's body amidst the rays of light caused by the collapse of the Nine Dragons' bloodline. However, at the next moment, Lu Ming's body was engulfed by endless rays of light and the attacks of the four powerful figures. Lu Ming was dead meat. Many people thought to themselves, how could Lu Ming block such an attack when his bloodline collapsed? Withdraw. At the critical moment, Yi Dian pressed the zither with both hands and ordered the 7 phoenixes to retreat. However, Bing Kong, Jian Zhan, and Zi Wuji's attacks did not diminish in the slightest and instead became even more violent. Lu Ming was too strong, which made them jealous. They wanted to take this opportunity to kill Lu Ming in one fell swoop. Right at this moment, a huge stone tablet rushed out from the light and emitted a brilliant light. It quickly grew to the size of a mountain. Suppress. Lu Ming's voice came out from the stone tablet. Below it, a single tablet word shone brightly and with a shake, it shattered all the attacks. Prison suppressing steel bloodline. All around, the spectators were stunned and only reacted after a long while. Another bloodline, an 8th grade divine rank bloodline. Lu Ming actually has 2 types of bloodlines. One is at level 8 and the other is at level 9. How is that possible? And what's with his 8th grade divine rank bloodline? How can it be so powerful? It can shatter the attacks of Bing Kong and the others in one fell swoop. The scene was in an uproar. Originally, they thought that Lu Ming would be killed under this attack, but at the critical moment, Lu Ming actually erupted with another bloodline and blocked the attacks of the experts, leaving everyone dumbfounded. Prison suppressing steel, it's the prison suppressing steel bloodline. The white-haired old man from the Heavenly God sect couldn't help but exclaim. It really is the prison suppressing steel bloodline. One is the 9 dragons, and the other is the legendary prison suppressing steel. Unbelievable. The legendary 9 heavenly suppressing steel. The experts from the Dragon God Valley, 9 Heaven Sword Sect, and Sky Universe Demon Sect exclaimed. It seemed that seeing the prison suppressing steel bloodline was even more shocking than seeing the 9 dragons bloodline. Suppress. Lu Ming's voice resounded, and the prison suppressing steel trembled, pressing down on Bing Kong. Boom! The huge prison suppressing steel ruthlessly pressed down on the ice river, causing a scream to ring out from the ice river. Again. The prison suppressing steel was shrouded in a layer of blood-red light. That was the power of the 3rd bloodline. Lu Ming borrowed more power from the 3rd bloodline, causing the prison suppressing steel bloodline to become even stronger. Boom! The prison suppressing steel pressed down on the ice river again. This time, the ice river trembled violently and suddenly collapsed, turning into energy and dissipating. Bing Kong's figure appeared, spurting blood from his mouth as he flew far away, crashing onto the platform below the stairs and spitting out a few more mouthfuls of blood. This change was too sudden. From the moment the prison-suppressing steel bloodline appeared, it launched a fierce attack on Bing Kong, and severely injured him in 2 moves. It only took a breath's time. Attack! At this moment, in the sword battle, Zi Wuji attacked at the same time. His iron sword and spear rushed towards Lu Ming. The prison-suppressing steel shook and directly collided with the iron sword and spear. The lower part of the prison-suppressing steel bloodline was the main body of the prison-suppressing steel, which was indestructible. When the iron sword and spear hit the prison-suppressing steel's body, they only made 2 clanging sounds before being bounced off. Wang! Then, the prison-suppressing steel's bloodline pressed down on the 2. With 2 loud bangs, the 2 figures were forced back again and again. Since the start of the battle, Zi Wuji and the others' bloodline power had been greatly depleted. Lu Ming, on the other hand, had just used the suppressing prison monument bloodline and his bloodline power was still abundant.
He continued to attack the two of them. During this process, Eden did not make a move. In the sword battle, Ziwu-ji and Ziwu-ji were unable to resist more than a few moves. Their bloodlines were also defeated by Lu Ming, and their bodies were sent flying while coughing up blood. The three great masters were all injured by Lu Ming. Kill. Lu Ming controlled the prison-suppressing steel and continued to press down on Bing Kong. A look of horror flashed in Bing Kong's eyes as he shouted, "I admit defeat." Then, space flashed and Bing Kong was teleported out. Humph. Lu Ming coldly snorted and aimed the prison-suppressing steel at Ziwu-ji and Jian Zhan. The two were helpless. At this time, their bloodline power was exhausted and they were no match for Lu Ming, so they could only admit defeat. Now, only Lu Ming and Eden were left on the stairs. The prison-suppressing steel shrank and turned into Lu Ming's appearance. "Do you still want to fight?" Lu Ming looked at Eden. Just now, at the critical moment, Eden had withdrawn his attack, which made Lu Ming's impression of him slightly better. He did not attack him. "Is there still a need?" "I'm not your match." Eden smiled bitterly and shook his head. He put away his zither and stepped out of the stairs, appearing in the void outside. At this point, only Lu Ming was left on the stairs. At this moment, Lu Ming was the focus of everyone's attention. There was no suspense in this assessment. First place was Lu Ming. This result was beyond everyone's expectations. Lu Ming fought the four strongest heavens prides alone. If someone said this before, no one would believe it and they would definitely be called a madman. Chapter 1269. There was only one person on the stairs. Lu Ming turned around and walked up the stairs step by step. In the void all around, countless human figures of Tao were looking at Lu Ming. The scene was silent. Only the sound of Lu Ming's footsteps could be heard. A few minutes later, Lu Ming reached the highest point and stepped into the air, appearing beside Xian Yanqing. "Well, you did well. It's worth it for me to admit defeat this time." Xian Yanqing smiled brightly. "Of course. How can your man be bad?" Lu Ming smiled. "Don't flatter yourself." Xian Yanqing blushed. "Ha ha ha, good. You're really something. You're so young and yet you have such combat strength and cultivation. Even in the Dragon God Valley, you're considered a good genius. Lu Ming, are you willing to join the Dragon God Valley? Everyone in the Dragon God Valley has awakened the true dragon bloodline. Those who break through to the Emperor realm cultivate the supreme dragon body." The expert from the Dragon God Valley laughed and came to Lu Ming. He looked at Lu Ming with fiery eyes full of anticipation. "Lu Ming, although the Dragon God Valley cultivates the supreme dragon body, it's not only the Dragon God Valley that has the cultivation method of the supreme dragon body. The Nine Heaven Sword sect also has it. Lu Ming, if you join the Nine Heaven Sword sect, you can name any conditions." The expert from the Nine Heaven Sword sect said. "What do you mean? Are you going against the Dragon God Valley?" The expert from the Dragon God Valley looked at the expert from the Nine Heaven Sword sect coldly. The expert from the Nine Heaven Sword sect sneered, not afraid at all. The expert from the Sky Universe Demon sect wanted to speak up, but Lu Ming had nothing to do with the diabolism. He reckoned that the chances of Lu Ming being accepted were slim. After pondering for a while, he turned to look at Xian Yanqing and said, "Miss, your diabolism talent is extremely pure. Our Sky Universe Demon sect specializes in diabolism. How about I invite you to join our Sky Universe Demon sect?" Sky Universe Demon sect. Xian Yanqing was tempted, but after looking at Lu Ming, she shook her head and said, "Thank you, senior. I'll follow Lu Ming. Whichever sect Lu Ming joins, I'll follow." Many people were stunned. Wherever Lu Ming went, Yanqing would follow? Shao Qing,
Lu Ming looked at Xian Yanqing and his heart warmed. The expert from the Sky Universe Demon Sect wanted to say something. Ha ha ha, Lu Ming, join the Divine Dragon Valley. Only then will you be able to unleash your full potential. The expert from Dragon God Valley said. That's right. At this moment, the powerful cultivator from the Sky Universe Demon Sect said, Lu Ming, you will join the Divine Dragon Valley while this lady will join the Sky Universe Demon Sect. The Divine Dragon Valley and the Sky Universe Demon Sect are very close to each other. You will be able to meet each other often and it won't affect your cultivation. To be honest, this lady's talent will be wasted if she doesn't join the Demon Dao Sect. The expert from the Sky Universe Demon Sect tried to persuade her. But Xian Yanqing still shook her head. Seniors, if we join your sect, can we delay our journey to Yuanlu for a while? Lu Ming asked. Of course. The experts from the Dragon God Valley, Sky Universe Demon Sect and Nine Heaven Sword Sect nodded. If that's the case, Lu Ming looked at Xian Yanqing and said, Xiaoqin, why don't you join the Sky Universe Demon Sect and I join the Dragon God Valley? We can meet frequently anyway. The expert from the Sky Universe Demon Sect was right. If Xian Yanqing followed him and joined the Dragon God Valley or other forces, it would only be a waste of her talent. After all, a martial artist's cultivation was the most important. Moreover, she didn't have to go immediately. She could go after a while. Hearing Lu Ming's words, the eyes of the experts from the Dragon God Valley and Sky Universe Demon Sect lit up. Xian Yanqing pondered for a while and nodded. All right then. Senior, I'm willing to join the Dragon God Valley. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said to the expert from the Dragon God Valley. Great, great, haha. The expert from the Dragon God Valley was overjoyed. Xian Yanqing also expressed that she wanted to join the Sky Universe Demon Sect. The experts from the Sky Universe Demon Sect were also overjoyed. Although Xian Yanqing's cultivation was still low, her potential was limitless. Both the Dragon God Valley and the Sky Universe Demon Sect were overjoyed as they each gained a peerless talent. The experts from the Nine Heaven Sword Sect shook their heads and sighed. The white-haired elder from the Sky God Sect looked gloomy but didn't say anything. Everyone was envious. Others could not join a sect even if they wanted to. However, Lu Ming received invitations from several powerful sections. This treatment was completely incomparable. Then, the Dragon God Valley, the Nine Heaven Sword Sect, and the Sky God Sect started fighting for Long Chen. After all, Long Chen had awakened the immemorial dragonesque elephant bloodline and had limitless potential. In the end, Long Chen also chose the Dragon God Valley. This made the experts from the Dragon God Valley laugh their heads off. Bing Kong, how about joining the Sky God Sect? Jian Zhan, how about joining the Nine Heaven Sword Sect? Then, the four major forces started sending out invitations to Yi Dian, Bing Kong, Jian Zhan, and Zi Wuji. In the end, Bing Kong joined the Sky God Sect, Jian Zhan joined the Nine Heaven Sword Sect, Zi Wuji joined the Sky God Sect, and Yi Dian joined the Sky God Sect. The Sky God Sect had a variety of cultivation techniques and was suitable for most Sky Prides. The white-haired elder from the Sky God Sect finally smiled. Xian Yanjuan, how about joining the Sky God Sect? At this moment, the Sky God Sect sent out an invitation to Xian Yanjuan. Xian Yanjuan was overjoyed and immediately nodded without any hesitation. Then, Sky Prides like Ji Hongchen and Wang Zhen were also invited to join the four major sections. The remaining Sky Prides looked at the four major sects, hoping to be invited. You're Yang Patian, right? How about joining the Nine Heaven Sword Sect? The experts from the Nine Heaven Sword Sect looked at Yang Patian. This made Yang Potion's body tremble violently and his eyes were filled with ecstasy. He did not expect that he would also be invited and quickly nodded in agreement. Although this kid's cultivation is low, he has comprehended the concept of space. No wonder the Nine Heaven Sword sect picked him. Someone said. Time and space were king. The concept of space was rare and powerful, and only a few people had comprehended it. Yang Potion's cultivation was still low, and he did not have any cultivation techniques related to the concept of space. There were many mysteries that had yet to be discovered. If he joined the major sects in the Yuanlu sect and fully developed the concept of space, it would be terrifying. Gosh, this means that 5 people from the Divine Wilderness continent have been chosen to join the major sects in the Yuanlu sect. Someone exclaimed. Everyone thought to themselves that it was indeed so. Lu Ming, Xian Yanqing, Long Chen, Xian Yanjuan, and Yang Patian. A total of 5 people had joined the major sects in the Yuanlu sect. This number was even more than the number 2 Blood Sun continent. This made the other young Sky Prides extremely envious and jealous. The other Sky Prides looked at the experts from the 4 major sects with hope, hoping to be chosen. Unfortunately, the experts from the 4 major sects did not make any moves. They looked at the Sky Prides and frowned as if they were thinking. Chapter 1270. After that, the experts from the 4 major sects of Yuanlu did not continue to speak. Most of the geniuses who were not selected started to panic. Senior, I'm willing to join the Heavenly Divinity sect. Senior, I'm willing to join the Nine Heaven Sword sect. Please grant me my wish. One by one, the youths knelt down, wanting to join the 4 major sections. You guys can't do it. You don't have enough talent and potential. The expert from the Nine Heaven Sword sect waved his sleeves and rejected them directly. Then, the Divine Dragon Valley, Heavenly Divinity sect and the other sects rejected them one by one. Senior, please grant me my wish. Some of the geniuses shouted. Alright, we've already made an exception by coming to the mainland of godly ruins to recruit disciples. You guys don't have to say anything more. The white-haired elder from the Heavenly Divinity sect said coldly. A faint pressure emanated from his body, causing many of their faces to change drastically. Many of the young geniuses sighed and looked disappointed. They knew that they were not fated to join the major sects of Yuanlu. Alright, this trip is considered a success. Ha ha ha. The expert from the Divine Dragon Valley laughed loudly. The experts from the other 3 sects despised him. Without a doubt, the Divine Dragon Valley had gained the most from this trip. They had recruited Lu Ming and Long Chen, 2 geniuses with limitless potential. Of course, it was a success. Lu Ming, Long Chen, will be returning to Yuanlu soon. Do you guys want to follow us to Divine Dragon Valley now or after some time? I can tell you that the cultivation environment in Yuanlu is not something that the mainland of godly ruins can compare to. It's countless times better. Cultivating in Yuanlu will allow your cultivation to improve by leaps and bounds. The expert from the Divine Dragon Valley continued to speak. His tone was filled with temptation. Some of the geniuses who had joined the Divine Dragon Valley had their eyes lit up. Senior, I'm willing to go with you. Me too. A few of the young geniuses nodded. Senior, I still have something to do in the mainland of godly ruins. I might have to wait for some time. Lu Ming said. Then, Long Chen also said that he would go after some time. Alright, Lu Ming, Long Chen, take these 2 tokens. They represent that you are disciples of the Dragon God Valley. There is some information about you in them. I will give you 2 years. After 2 years, come here with the tokens and the disciples of the Dragon God Valley will come to pick you up. The Dragon God Valley expert tossed 2 tokens to Lu Ming and Long Chen. Lu Ming caught them and kept them. It is the same for the Sky Universe Demon sect. If you are willing, you can follow me to the Yuanlu. If you are busy now, you can come back in 2 years. The expert from the Sky Universe Demon sect said. It's the same for the Heavenly Divine sect, the Nine Heaven Sword sect is the same. The conditions of the other three sects were the same as the Dragon God Valley. Those who were willing to go to the Yuanlu could leave immediately. Those who were unwilling could come back 2 years later with a disciple token and someone would pick them up. Naturally, most of the youths expressed that they would head to Yuanlu immediately. For example, Yi Dian, Bing Kong, Xian Yinjuan and Yang Patian also expressed that they would head to Yuanlu immediately. As for Xian Yinqing, he shook his head and said that he would wait for 2 years before heading to Yuanlu. Humph, Lu Ming, Xian Yinqing, you guys can stay in a broken place like the continent of God. When we meet again in 2 years, I will definitely surpass you guys. Xian Yinjuan gritted her teeth. She was happy that Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing were going to stay in the continent of God, but she also despised them. In fact, most of the Sky Prides despised them. Some of them could not figure it out. Cultivators should prioritize their cultivation. Moreover, Sky Prides like them were at the golden age of their cultivation. It was the time for them to advance by leaps and bounds. 2 years was enough for them to reverse the situation. They were confident that they would be able to trample Lu Ming under their feet in 2 years' time. In the end, only 5 or 6 of them decided not to go for the time being. The Divine Wilderness continent occupied 3 continents. Surprisingly, Ji Hongqian did not go either. It was obvious that she had something important to do and would leave in 2 years' time. Alright, that's it for this time. You guys can leave now. The Divine Sect will reward the 4 Divine Palaces according to their contributions. The white-haired elder of the Divine Sect said. Subsequently, the experts of the other 3 sects also said the same thing. The sovereigns of the 4 Divine Palaces were overjoyed. The examination of Yuanlu sect had come to an end. Many of the onlookers slowly dispersed. Lu Ming, Xian Yinqing and the others followed the black-clothed middle-aged man from Southern Divine Palace back to their residence. They were going to return to Southern Divine Palace. Southern Divine Palace would then send out a flying ship to send them back to their continents. It was worth mentioning that the black-clothed middle-aged man and the other experts from Southern Divine Palace treated Lu Ming, Xian Yinqing and Long Chen very well. They seemed to respect them. It was not difficult for the crowd to understand that Lu Ming and the others were now disciples of Yuanlu sect. Their identities were completely different from before. The next day, the crowd returned to Southern Divine Palace. When Southern Divine Palace found out that Lu Ming had obtained first place and that Lu Ming was from Divine Wilderness Continent, it naturally caused a wave of admiration and envy. Lu Ming, Long Chen, and Xian Yinqing stayed at General Peak for the time being. Underworld Child, Monk Wuliang, and Moonless Bodhisattva, who had not been selected, also stayed at General Peak. They were waiting for the Southern Divine Palace to arrange a cross-sea flying ship to send them back. The flying ship was not something that could be arranged in a short period of time. They needed to wait for 2 days. Time passed quickly and night fell. Young Master Lu Ming, is Miss Yinqing here? When the sky darkened, a voice suddenly sounded outside General Peak. Lu Ming, who was in the midst of cultivation, ended his cultivation and walked out of the room. He saw Xian Yinqing walking out of the room as well. The two of them glanced at each other, feeling a little surprised. They wondered who was looking for them. After the two of them walked out of the courtyard, they saw a kind-looking elder standing in the void. This old man is Ji Fu. Greetings to young Master Lu Ming and Miss Yinqing. When he saw Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing, the old man hurriedly bowed. Senior, there's no need to be so polite. May I know why Senior is looking for the two of us? Lu Ming cupped his fists and asked. My young mistress asked me to come. She said that she knows the two of you and will be bidding farewell in a few days. She wants to treat the two of you to a banquet. The old man said. May I know who your young mistress is? Lu Ming asked curiously. My young mistress is Ji Hongqian. The old man smiled. So it's Miss Ji Hongchen. Lu Ming suddenly understood. It seems that a beauty is thinking about you. On the side, Xian Yanqing pouted and muttered in Lu Ming's ear. Lu Ming smiled bitterly and sent a voice transmission to Xian Yanqing. Didn't she invite you too? I think I'm basking in your glory. Xian Yanqing continued to pout. Then forget it. I'm not going. Lu Ming sent a voice transmission to Xian Yanqing rather helplessly. Of course I'm going. Do I look like a petty person? Xian Yanqing rolled her eyes at Lu Ming and said, Senior, please lead the way. This, Lu Ming could only sigh. He really could not keep up with a girl's brain circuit. Young Master Lu Ming, Miss Yanqing, please follow me. The old man was overjoyed and turned to lead the way. Chapter 1271. The old man led Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing towards the north. After flying for a while, the terrain became more remote. Senior, does Miss Ji Hongchen live here? Lu Ming asked with a suspicious look in his eyes. Miss Ji has a courtyard here. The environment is elegant and quiet. She usually likes to invite guests here. The old man explained with a kind expression. Oh. Lu Ming nodded and continued to fly forward with the old man. Lu Ming, I feel that something is wrong. Xian Yanqing transmitted his voice to Lu Ming. Yes, let's keep looking. Lu Ming nodded. After flying for a while, the terrain became more remote. Senior, please wait for a moment. At this moment, Lu Ming suddenly spoke. The old man stopped and turned around. Young Master Lu, what's the matter? We're almost there. You weren't sent by Ji Hongchen, were you? Lu Ming's eyes turned cold as he suddenly spoke. The old man's expression suddenly changed. He revealed a forced smile and said, Young Master Lu, are you mistaken? I was indeed sent by Miss Ji. How dare you lie to me? Miss Ji Hongchen just transmitted her voice to me. She said that she was looking for me at General Peak, but she couldn't find me. If you were sent by her, why would you look for me personally? Lu Ming's voice turned cold. His words made the old man's expression change drastically and become extremely gloomy. Swoosh! He suddenly struck his palm towards Lu Ming's heart. A violent pressure surged towards Lu Ming like a storm. A perfected spiritual god. This old man's cultivation was at the perfected spiritual god realm. His sudden attack was terrifying. However, Lu Ming was already prepared. The dragon power in his body erupted as he also struck out with his palm. Bang! The two palms collided. The old man's body seemed to have been struck by lightning. One of his arms directly exploded into pieces. He frantically retreated and spat out blood. Who are you? Who sent you? Lu Ming's gaze was extremely gloomy and cold murderous intent burst out. Humph, Lu Ming, you're lucky. The old man said with a cold face. I'm not lucky. Ji Hongchen didn't look for me at all. I was just talking nonsense. Lu Ming said indifferently. When he said that Ji Hongchen went to look for him, he didn't. He just wanted to trick the old man. He didn't expect that the old man had ulterior motives. The elder was so angry that he spat out another mouthful of blood. His expression was extremely ugly. He had lived for thousands of years. He did not expect to be fooled by a young man like Lu Ming. Tell me, who sent you here? I'll give you a quick death. Lu Ming's walked eyes. Boom. 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 At this moment, wisps of smoke-like aura rose from all directions. They were incomparably terrifying and powerful. There was a total of 6 of them, and each of them carried an aura that was significantly stronger than the old man before him. Supreme Martial Artists, 6 Supreme Martial Artists. Rip. The space cracked open. 6 figures stepped out from the crack and stood around Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing, blocking their way out. The 6 figures were wrapped in black robes. Their faces and figures were hidden in the black robes. You really think highly of me? You sent 6 Supremes. Lu Ming sneered. He was guessing in his heart who had such great power. This was the South God Palace. Only a powerful force like the South God Palace could send 6 Supremes to kill him. Was it the Mu clan or the Wang clan? Kill. Kill. The 6 Supremes didn't waste any time. They attacked directly. A terrifying pressure pressed down on Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. At the same time, 6 terrifying attacks fell on the 2 of them. Sky Demon Force Field. Xian Yanqing pressed her hands together. A terrifying force field spread out in all directions with her as the center. As soon as the 6 Supremes entered the Sky Demon Force Field, their bodies froze and their faces changed. With Xian Yanqing's current combat strength, she was able to affect the Supremes. Kill. Lu Ming bellowed. His third bloodline emerged, making him even more powerful. He took a step in the void and instantly approached a supreme being. Boom! Lu Ming threw out a punch. The other party threw out a palm at the same time. There was a loud boom. Lu Ming didn't move, but the other party's body shook violently. He flew back like a cannonball and spat out a mouthful of blood. This scene caused everyone's hearts to tremble wildly. Lu Ming's combat strength was too shocking. He injured a Supremes with a single move. Was this the strength of the number 1 in this assessment? Was this the strength of the number 1 genius in the Godly Ruins continent? Activate your bloodline. Kill him with all your might. One of the Supremes said. A bloodline floated above his head and he performed bloodline fusion. The other 5 Supremes also performed bloodline fusion. Be destroyed. Xian Yanqing also performed bloodline fusion and turned into a beautiful sky demon. The Sky Demon Force Field was even more terrifying. At the same time, the force field was filled with a powerful destructive force. It made it difficult for the 6 Supremes to move. Roar. A dragon's roar was heard. Lu Ming turned into 9 dragons and pounced on the 6 Supremes. Bam! With just one move, one of the Supremes was beaten until he spat out a mouthful of blood and was forced to retreat. If the other Supremes hadn't come to his rescue in time, Lu Ming would have taken the opportunity to kill the Supremes. In the sky, a man in a black robe stood in the void and looked at the battle below. Lu Ming was familiar with one of the young men. It was young Master Lin of the Celestial Sect. At this moment, young Master Lin looked ferocious and murderous as he looked at the battle below. This kid is really talented. He's considered good even in the Yuan continent. Unfortunately, if he doesn't join the Celestial Sect, he can only be killed. Beside young Master Lin was a middle-aged man. He was one of the 2 middle-aged men of the Celestial Sect. Humph, I've already investigated. My son Mu Ju was killed by this kid. He must die. Beside the middle-aged man of the Celestial Sect, there were 2 other black-robed men. One of them said coldly. At this moment, the battle below was even more intense. The 6 Supremes cooperated well. However, Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing cooperated and their combat strength was equally shocking. Especially Lu Ming, who was invincible. Buzz! Above the 9 dragons, a lightning cauldron appeared. It was as big as a mountain and crashed towards one of the Supremes. Bam! That Supreme spat out a mouthful of blood. His body was charred and he almost exploded. The 9 dragons roared and a devouring force burst out, shrouding the opponent. Then, a claw reached out and grabbed at the opponent. No! Save me! The Supremes screamed in fear. The other Supremes wanted to help, but Lu Ming controlled the lightning cauldron. Thousands of lightning bolts spread out and blocked the Supremes. Puchi. The 9 dragons' dragon claw clawed into the dantian of the primordial being. The terrifying power shattered the body of the primordial being, and grabbed the primordial being's spiritual spirit. The spiritual deity had the appearance of an old man. His face was filled with endless fear. "Spare me," he wanted to beg for mercy, but the dragon claw squeezed and the spiritual deity exploded. A Supremes was killed by Lu Ming. Chapter 1272. Lu Ming killed a Supreme Being with lightning speed, which made the other 5 Supreme Beings' faces change drastically. They were almost scared to death as they retreated frantically. In the sky, the burly man from the Heavenly Divinity sect, young Master Lin, and the others' faces turned gloomy. Especially the burly man from the Heavenly Divinity sect, his eyes were burning with passion. "This lightning cauldron is amazing. It's beyond the category of a spiritual weapon. Could it be a holy weapon?" The burly man from the Heavenly Divinity sect muttered to himself and roared in his heart, "Ha ha ha, my luck is too good. I didn't expect a holy weapon to exist in such a remote place like the Godly Ruins continent. I must get it." Below, Lu Ming didn't chase after them. Instead, he came to Xianyanqing's side and said, "Xiaoqing, let's leave this place quickly." This matter wasn't simple. 6 Supreme Beings were sent to kill him at once. The force behind this must be extremely powerful. There might even be an Emperor Realm expert. Right now, the best thing to do was to leave. Xianyanqing nodded and was about to leave with Lu Ming. In the sky, the Mu family's patriarch said coldly, "Mu Yi, make a move and keep them here." "Yes." Beside the Mu family's patriarch, a figure wrapped in a black robe bowed and accepted the order. Then, he took a step forward. Lu Ming and Xianyanqing were about to return to where they came from. Suddenly, an extremely terrifying aura burst out. A terrifying pressure pressed down on Lu Ming and Xianyanqing. An Emperor Realm expert. Lu Ming's face changed drastically as he exclaimed. Sure enough, there was an Emperor Realm expert behind this matter. When the Supreme Beings were defeated, an Emperor Realm expert appeared. A black-robed figure appeared in the sky. His appearance couldn't be seen clearly. He stretched out a withered claw and grabbed at Lu Ming and Xianyanqing. Suddenly, an incomparably huge claw as big as a mountain grabbed at Lu Ming and Xianyanqing. The terrifying pressure made Lu Ming feel a little suffocated even though he was far away from it. A ruler was too terrifying. Although Supreme Beings were known as half-step rulers, their combat prowess was far inferior to a real ruler. The withered claws covered the sky and completely enveloped Lu Ming and Xianyanqing. There was no way for them to escape. Xiaoqing, enter the mountain and river diagram. Lu Ming roared. At the same time, he crazily poured his quintessence into the lightning furnace. The lightning furnace's aura became even stronger. Wang! The lightning cauldron turned into the size of the withered claw and slammed into it. No, I won't enter the mountain and river diagram. Xianyanqing stubbornly shook her head. The space between her eyebrows glowed as a black bead appeared. A terrifying devil chi rippled out from the bead. The devil chi gathered and formed a beam of devil chi that shot towards the withered claw. Boom! Boom! 2 heaven-shaking explosions rang out, and a terrifying force swept out for tens of thousands of miles, startling countless people. What's going on? What happened? Someone is fighting a great battle. Who is fighting such a terrifying battle? It seems to be an emperor. There's a battle between emperors. A burst of noise rang out in the night sky, but no one dared to go closer to watch. What a joke. If one was too close to a battle between emperors, one would only die if one was accidentally involved. Clang! The lightning cauldron shook violently and was sent flying back to Lu Ming's head. Lu Ming's body trembled violently as he retreated a few thousand meters and spat out a mouthful of blood. Xian Yinqing was the same. Her devil chi beam was destroyed and she retreated a few thousand meters. However, the black bead between her eyebrows released a layer of light that protected Xian Yinqing. Therefore, Xian Yinqing was slightly better than Lu Ming. Her delicate body trembled, but she did not vomit blood. This made Lu Ming heave a sigh of relief. Xian Yinqing's black bead was obtained in the ruins of God. Its mysteries were beyond imagination. Although the two of them were repelled, they had successfully blocked the withered claw. Amazing, amazing. This scene made the middle-aged man of the celestial god sect sigh. The two of them were just juniors, but they were able to block the attack of an emperor. This was absolutely terrifying. Humph. This made the Mu family's patriarch's face gloomy and ugly. He felt that he had lost face. Mu Yi, go all out. Don't show mercy. It's fine as long as you don't kill them. The Mu family's patriarch transmitted his voice to Mu Yi. Kill. Upon receiving the order, Mu Yi roared, and his aura became even more violent. He stretched out his withered hands and grabbed two claws in a row. Two huge claws condensed and grabbed at Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing. Each of the two claws was stronger than the previous one. What was shocking was that the two claws merged into one halfway and turned into a claw that emitted a withered aura. It grabbed at Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing. The power of this claw was even more shocking. Dandan. Bubble. With a thought, Dandan and Bubble appeared on Lu Ming's shoulder. Lu Ming, I knew you would come for me. I have a hard life. Dandan flew out from Lu Ming's shoulder while cursing. Its body began to grow crazily, and its aura rose sharply. Mouth, world. Dandan roared and opened its mouth. A mass of chaotic light flew out from its mouth. There seemed to be a world in the light. A world flew towards the withered giant claw. At the same time, a huge transparent bubble appeared from Bubble's mouth and suddenly appeared around the withered claw. As soon as the transparent bubble appeared, the withered claw was fixed in the air, unable to move. This is the space and time concept. Mu Yi let out a cry of disbelief and then roared, "Break for me." The withered claw emitted light and the transparent bubble began to vibrate. Chirp chirp, Bubble cried. Its snow-white hair emitted a milky white light as if it was using all its strength. At this time, Dandan's attack had also arrived. It directly passed through the transparent bubble and blasted on the withered claw. Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing's attacks also arrived one after another. Boom! The shriveled claw crumbled under the continuous attacks. Mu Ye's body trembled and actually took a step back, stepping on the void with a rumbling sound. How is this possible? What are those two things? Young Master Lin and the Mu family head cried out. The power exerted by Dandan and Bubble was too terrifying. The middle-aged man from the celestial sect also suddenly widened his eyes and stared at Dandan and Bubble. He whispered in disbelief, This seems to be very similar to two of the legendary top 10 battle beasts. His heart began to beat rapidly as his eyes burned with passion. At the same time, his eyes were filled with disbelief. Didn't the legend say that the top 10 battle beasts had all fallen? How could they reappear in the world? Could it be that they had the bloodline of the top 10 battle beasts and were not purebred? Even so, they were still priceless. Continue. Below, Lu Ming shouted and controlled the thunder cauldron. The sky was filled with thunder and lightning as it attacked Mu Yi. Now, Lu Ming was going to fight back. So what if he was an emperor? Whoosh! The bead between Xian Yinqing's eyebrows shot out a demonic light. The demonic light turned into a battle sword and slashed out. Chapter 1273. A transparent bubble abruptly appeared beside Mu Yi without any warning and enveloped him. This transparent bubble contained the concepts of time and space. It was extremely mysterious. The combination of the two concepts came without any warning. It was simply unavoidable. By the time Mu Yi reacted, it was already too late. The concept of space was still fine, but the concept of time was too mysterious. The bubble was still small and could not fully display the mysteries of time. It could only use methods like time freeze to imprison the enemy. If the enemy's cultivation was too strong, they could also break through it. It was said that when the concept of time reached a high level, it could turn back time. In an instant, it could make a peerless expert return to his childhood, to the era before cultivation, and be at your mercy. Or, it could accelerate time and make a peerless expert instantly become old and close to the end of his lifespan. At that point, it was hard to imagine how terrifying its power would be. Mu Yi was enveloped by the transparent bubble, and his figure froze in place. "Break, break!" Mu Yi roared. His cultivation base as a ruler erupted. His true essence boiled like a raging flame. The transparent bubble shook violently as if it would burst at any time. Chirp chirp, the bubble chirped. Its two small claws continuously clawed at the void. Suddenly, a shocking scene appeared. The surrounding void shattered like glass and turned into pieces of crystal. Then, several spatial blades were condensed and slashed toward Mu Yi. At the same time, Lu Ming, Xianyanqing, and Dandan's attacks also arrived. The moment the transparent bubble was shattered by Mu Yi, four terrifying attacks landed on Mu Yi at the same time. At the critical moment, Mu Yi activated his domain to cover his whole body. At the same time, he circulated his true essence to form a true essence armor on his body. Boom! The first attack was Dandan's. Ever since Dandan swallowed a myriad spirit crystal last time, it had been recovering rapidly. Its strength had improved by leaps and bounds, and it was getting stronger and stronger. The mouth world was Dandan's innate ability. It was like a real world that enveloped Mu Yi. The power of the world was constantly erasing Mu Ye's domain power and true essence power. Whoosh! The second attack was Xianyanqing's demonic light. The demonic light was like a sword that could destroy everything. Combined with Dandan's world force, it shook Mu Ye's domain, causing it to shake violently. Kacha! In the end, there was a cracking sound, as if glass had broken. In the next moment, Lu Ming's lightning cauldron arrived. Thousands of lightning bolts completely submerged Mu Yi. The endless lightning energy was like poisonous snakes that drilled into Mu Yi. With a loud bang, Mu Ye's domain power was completely shattered. The attacks of the three continued to bombard Mu Ye's quintessential energy armor. But at this time, Bubble Space Blade arrived, breaking through Mu Ye's true essence armor and blasting towards his body. Bang! 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 Each of the four attacks caused Mu Ye's body to tremble violently. He was forced to retreat again and again. In the end, he even spat out a mouthful of blood. The sovereign was injured. And sovereign was actually injured by Lu Ming, Xianyanqing, and two small pets. If this news were to spread, no one would believe it and think it was a joke. But now, it really happened. Is this the sovereign's spiritual body? It's really powerful. Lu Ming frowned. He was somewhat dissatisfied with such a result. Not only had the sovereign comprehended the power of a domain, but his body had also turned into a spiritual body. The spiritual body, whether it was in terms of attack, defense, or vitality, was terrifyingly high. It had completely surpassed the mortal body and reached another realm. The attacks of the four people broke through Mu Ye's domain and quintessential energy armor, directly attacking Mu Ye's body. However, they only managed to push him back and slightly injure him. Lu Ming was somewhat dissatisfied, but Mu Yi was about to go crazy. He was a dignified sovereign. Not only could he not take down a few juniors, but he was also repelled and even injured by them. This was a great humiliation. If word got out, he would become a laughing-stock among the sovereigns. Moreover, the patriarch of the Mu family and the powerhouses of the heavenly god sect were watching from the sky. Kill. At this moment, his killing intent was incomparably cold. He decided to no longer care about the lives of Lu Ming and the others. He wanted to take them down. However, in the next moment, a transparent bubble suddenly appeared and enveloped him, causing him to freeze in the air. Then, another 4 attacks came crashing down on his face. Boom! 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 With a series of explosions, Mu Ye's body shook violently again. He was repelled and spat out another mouthful of blood. He was injured again. Just like last time, although it was only a minor injury, it made him go crazy. Ah! He roared crazily in his heart, and his eyes were red. Aggrieved, really aggrieved. He was a dignified emperor and was very powerful. However, when faced with Lu Ming and the rest, he could not even retaliate. That transparent bubble was silent and there were no signs at all. Just as he was about to retaliate, it suddenly appeared. He was so aggrieved that he wanted to vomit blood. Then, he was enveloped by another transparent bubble. He simply wanted to roar to the sky. How could they play like this? Humph, what a piece of trash. I have to do it myself. In the sky, the patriarch of the Mu family looked terrible. He snorted coldly and stepped out. Rumble. A giant foot suddenly appeared in the sky and stomped down on Lu Ming and the others. Oh no, Lu Ming's face became very ugly. The power contained in this giant foot was too shocking and terrifying. It made Lu Ming feel that he couldn't resist it. Lu Ming had felt this feeling from the black-robed middle-aged man of the Southern Divine Palace. This was the aura of a LV3 Martial Emperor expert. There was a huge gap between each LV3 Martial Emperor. Mu Yi was only a LV1 Martial Emperor. The gap between him and a LV3 Martial Emperor was too big. It's over, it's over. I'm finished. Lu Ming, who did you offend? Dandan wailed. Xie Nianqing's face was also very ugly. In the face of a LV3 Martial Emperor, they didn't even have the strength to fight back. The bubble spacetime imprisonment was useless against such an expert. The gap was too big. Chirp chirp, at this time, the bubble cried, and its chubby body emitted a dazzling light. It waved its claws, and a passage suddenly appeared in the void. A passage full of time and space intent, space-time passage. Chirp chirp, Bubbles shouted and took the lead to rush in. Let's go. Without the slightest hesitation, Lu Ming pulled Xie Nianqing and rushed into the space-time passage. As soon as they entered the passage, Lu Ming felt that the surrounding environment was changing rapidly. In a flash, the stars moved. The surrounding environment was changing, and they were heading towards the ruins of God. Bang! Chapter 1274. The Mu family head's face turned cold as he looked into the distance and whispered, "The ruins of God. Chase." At this moment, the middle-aged man from the heavenly divine sect spoke. He took a step forward and the space in front of him split open automatically. He took young Master Lin into the space crack and disappeared. The Mu family head and Mu Yi also tore the space apart and chased after Lu Ming and the others. In a flash, the space above the ruins of God cracked open. The middle-aged man from the heavenly divine sect, the Mu family head and the others appeared. They escaped into the ruins of God. The Mu family head said with a solemn expression. "Why aren't you chasing?" The middle-aged man from the heavenly divine sect asked. "This place is the ruins of God. It's very dangerous. Even emperors have the risk of dying if they enter. The Mu family head said. Even emperors are in danger? Hehe, I think you're exaggerating. I just used my spiritual consciousness to scan carefully. This place is just a ruin. There are no living creatures. How can it be dangerous? The middle-aged man from the heavenly divine sect smiled faintly. He had enough confidence. He didn't believe that there would be any place in the ruins of God that could threaten him. But, the Mu family head and Mu Yi were hesitant. The legends of the ruins of God made them very wary. Emperors are actually afraid of this and that. How can they achieve great things? Fine, if you don't go, I'll go myself. The middle-aged man from the heavenly divine sect said lightly with a slight disdain in his voice. Not to mention that he didn't believe that this place would bring him any danger. Even if there was a little danger, he still had to try. Lu Ming's thunder cauldron was suspected to be a sacred weapon, which made him drool. Needless to say, Dandan and Bubbles might have the bloodlines of the top 10 battle beasts. This made him even more tempted. If he could take them and train them well, they would be a great help in the future. He was determined to get all of this. The middle-aged man from the heavenly divine sect stepped out and headed into the ruins of God. Young Master Lin followed closely behind. The Mu family head and Mu Yi looked at each other with uncertain eyes. In the end, they gritted their teeth and followed the middle-aged man into the ruins of God. It wasn't easy for them to curry favor with the heavenly divine sect. This was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and they didn't want to miss it. They quickly passed the outer area of the ruins of God and entered the inner area. They passed through the inner region and appeared outside the core region. The middle-aged man from the celestial god sect did not hesitate at all. He stepped into the core area with the Mu family head and the others following behind him. There were some incomplete formations in the core area. Some of them were quite powerful, but they did not pose any threat to a third-layer martial dominator realm expert. You're scared out of your wits just by these broken formations? The middle-aged man from the heavenly divinity sect smiled. The Mu family's patriarch didn't make a sound. He was still on guard. He had never entered the core of the divine ruins before. He only knew that this place was very dangerous. Even a ruler would die if he entered. As for the specific dangers, he did not know. Soon, they passed through a large area and arrived in front of an intact palace. There's actually an intact palace here? The Mu family's patriarch revealed a puzzled look. Lu Ming and the others are in this palace. They won't be able to escape. The middle-aged man from the heavenly divinity sect laughed casually. The Mu family's patriarch and Mu Yi nodded. Both of them carefully sensed the aura of Lu Ming's group in the hall. Other than Lu Ming's group, there were no other auras. I'll go and chase them out. Mu Yi took the initiative to ask. Previously, he was injured by Lu Ming's group, which made him feel ashamed. Now, he was eager to prove himself. After saying that, Mu Yi stepped out. The aura of a ruler spread out from his body. Do you think hiding in a broken palace is going to work? I'll destroy this broken palace and make you come out. Mu Yi said coldly. He pressed his claw against the void, and a withered claw as big as a mountain was formed. It grabbed at the palace, wanting to crush it. Whoosh! At this moment, a jet-black spear light pierced through the air from within the palace. In an instant, it smashed the withered claw into pieces. Whoosh! Then, a second spear light appeared in the palace. Its target was Mu Yi. The speed of the spear light was unimaginably fast. It arrived in front of Mu Yi in a flash. Puff! Mu Yi did not even have time to react before his body was pierced by the spear light. A hole appeared in his dantian. What realm? What spiritual body? They were as fragile as tofu in front of the spear light. Mu Ye's eyes were wide open. His eyes were filled with unwillingness and disbelief. Slowly, the vitality in his eyes dissipated and completely disappeared. Mu Yi had fallen. How is this possible? Who is it? The master of the Mu family and the middle-aged man of the celestial sect were shocked. They shouted in disbelief. They clearly did not sense any vitality in the palace. How could an attack be launched? Moreover, it was so shocking. It killed an emperor in one move. Lu Ming. In the next moment, their eyes widened. They saw two figures walking out of the palace hand in hand. It was Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. It's you. Lu Ming looked at young Master Lin and the middle-aged man of the celestial sect. His face was gloomy. I didn't expect the celestial sect of Yuanlu to be so despicable. You're not my match, but you attacked me secretly. Hee, I'm glad I didn't join such a sect. Lu Ming sneered. His voice was full of mockery. Kid, what did you say? Young Master Lin scolded. His face was ugly. Lu Ming was obviously talking about him. How dare you? Since when did you have the right to comment on the celestial sect's actions? The middle-aged man of the celestial sect said in a deep voice. Hee. Lu Ming laughed in disdain. He did not bother to look at the two of them. He looked at the master of the Mu family and said, I want to know who you are. Why did you send someone to kill me? Evidently, the six great utmost exalted and the emperor realm expert from before were all sent by that person. You killed my son, Mu Ju. Do you think I should kill you? The master of the Mu family said in a deep voice. He took off his black hat and revealed a gloomy face. Mu family. It's the Mu family. Lu Ming muttered. He had guessed that it was either the Mu family or the Wang family. Since you want to kill me, bring it on. Lu Ming said calmly. The master of the Mu family and the middle-aged man of the celestial sect were shocked. They looked at the palace with fear. The spear radiance had killed a LV-1 martial royal realm martial artist. Its combat strength was no weaker than a LV-3 martial royal realm martial artist. Humph, who cares who he is? Since he doesn't dare to show himself, he can't be that strong. Let's attack together. Take down Lu Ming and leave quickly. The middle-aged man of the celestial sect said. All right. The master of the Mu family nodded. Chapter 1275. Almost at the same time, the two of them attacked. Two terrifying auras bloomed in the core of the ruins of deity. The master of the Mu family was a genuine LV-3 martial royal realm expert. He was stronger than Xiaofan and De. He formed a giant hand and grabbed at Lu Ming. As for the burly man from the heavenly god sect, his aura was unfathomable. Lin Fan could only sense that he was much stronger than the master of the Mu family. He waved his hand and a giant bird appeared. It opened its mouth and bit at Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing. Lu Ming and Xian Yanqing were stunned. However, they remained calm and stood still at the door of the palace. Those who trespass in the space-time spiritual palace will be killed. Suddenly, a cold voice came from the palace. The voice was cold and emotionless, without the slightest trace of emotion. Swoosh! Swoosh! Two spear radiances shot out from the palace. The black spear radiances with terrifying radiance collided with the attacks of the master of the Mu family and the burly man from the heavenly god sect. The two attacks were penetrated by the spear radiances. However, the two spear radiances disappeared. Roar! A dragon roar shook the heavens and earth. Bang! 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 Following which, a massive creature slowly walked out from the palace. Every step it took caused the ground to tremble. This, when the Mu family's patriarch, young Master Lin, and the middle-aged man from the celestial god sect saw the giant creature walking out of the palace. Their pupils shrank as they revealed shocked expressions. The behemoth that walked out of the palace was naturally the headless true dragon knight. Bubble had brought Lu Ming and the rest to the core of the ruins of deity through the space-time tunnel. Lu Ming had the Chaos Origin token. The headless true dragon rider treated Lu Ming as one of its own. However, the master of the Mu family and the rest did not have the Chaos Origin token. Moreover, they attacked the palace. Naturally, they were attacked by the headless true dragon rider. The headless true dragon rider was formed after the death of a supreme expert. It was not a living creature. Therefore, the master of the Mu family and the burly man from the heavenly god sect could not sense it. "Kill without mercy," said the headless true dragon rider. It was unknown where the voice came from, but then a shocking dragon roar sounded out. The headless true dragon stretched out a dragon claw and grabbed towards the Mu family's clan leader. As the dragon claw swiped out, it rapidly grew in size. In the end, it covered the sky and the sun, enveloping the entire world. Under the dragon claw, space could not withstand a single blow and was reduced to a mess. Eternal clear sky. The Mu family's patriarch felt a fatal threat. He raised his head to the sky and roared. He punched out, and an ancient tree that looked like the legendary world god tree smashed towards the dragon claw. This attack was the strongest attack of the Mu clan's patriarch. It combined the power of the realm and the spiritual body, making it extremely powerful. Ordinary LV2 martial royal realm cultivators would be severely injured or even killed by this attack. But in the next moment, the Mu family's patriarch's pupils contracted sharply. Because, when the dragon claw fell, the ancient tree that he struck out couldn't even hold up for a breath. It disintegrated into energy and dissipated, but the dragon claw didn't stop and continued to claw towards the Mu family's patriarch. This claw sealed the void. Even if the Mu family head wanted to escape, he could not do so. "Save me." The Mu family's patriarch was scared. He let out a loud roar. His spiritual body shone and the power of the realm spread out. He punched out crazily with both fists. But, under the dragon claw, everything was useless. It was futile. The Mu family's patriarch's attack and defense were like tofu under the dragon claw. They couldn't withstand a single blow. On the side, the burly man from the celestial god sect wanted to help. He launched an attack at the dragon claw, but he couldn't shake the dragon claw at all. "No!" The Mu family's patriarch roared in despair. In the next moment, the dragon claw covered his body and began to shrink. The Mu family's patriarch was caught in the dragon claw. "No, spare my life, spare my life," the Mu family's patriarch roared in horror. "Kill." The headless true dragon rider's voice was emotionless. As the dragon claw clenched, the Mu family's patriarch's body exploded with a bang. His body and soul were destroyed. Whoosh whoosh, the rider on the true dragon rider's neck actually emitted a powerful suction force, absorbing all of the Mu family's blood essence and energy. Lu Ming lamented in his heart. If he were to refine the sovereign's blood essence, he would definitely be able to upgrade the prison-suppressing steel bloodline to level 9 divine rank. At the same time, Lu Ming was secretly shocked. The headless true dragon rider was too strong. That headless true dragon was definitely a pure-blooded true dragon. He didn't know what realm it had reached when it was alive, but it was definitely an invincible existence. It could still maintain such a powerful combat strength after so many years. "Damn it, let's go." The middle-aged man from the celestial god sect was terrified. The headless true dragon rider's strength was far beyond his expectations. Although his cultivation was much stronger than the Mu family's patriarch, facing the headless true dragon rider, he felt a sense of impending disaster. After the Mu family's patriarch was killed, he didn't hesitate to tear the space apart and escape with young Master Lin.
Kill! The headless true dragon rider roared coldly again. Then, it clawed out again. A black dragon claw covered the sky, grabbing towards the middle-aged man and young Master Lin. The terrifying power not only made the middle-aged man's face change, but also almost scared young Master Lin to death. Run, run! Young Master Lin screamed like a madman. The dragon claw clawed down, sealing the space in all directions. The middle-aged man from the celestial god sect was in the same situation as the Mu family's patriarch. He couldn't break the space apart at all. The dragon claw didn't stop and continued to claw down. Swoosh! At this moment, the middle-aged man from the celestial god sect threw young Master Lin towards the dragon claw. He took out a jade token with a pained look on his face. The true yuan in his body crazily poured into the jade token. No, don't. You'll die a horrible death. Young Master Lin was thrown out. He was so scared that he peed his pants and screamed crazily. He struggled with all his might. However, with his cultivation, he was as small as an ant under the dragon claw. He wasn't even worth mentioning. No, save me, Lu Ming, please let me go. Young Master Lin screamed incoherently. At this moment, his heart was filled with regret. This was all because he had taken a liking to Xian Yinqing back then and had a conflict with Lu Ming, which led to all of this. Later on, when he was defeated by Lu Ming in public, he harbored even more hatred in his heart. He bribed the middle-aged burly man of the celestial god sect with great benefits and instigated him to deal with Lu Ming. If it wasn't for all of this, he wouldn't have ended up in this state. He screamed, but in the end, the dragon claw pressed down and young Master Lin's body exploded. Under the terrifying force, he turned into dust. The dragon claw continued to claw towards the middle-aged man from the celestial god sect. At this moment, the jade token in the celestial god sect's hand emitted a dazzling light. Then, a light sword appeared. It carried the celestial god sect's man and broke through the space, escaping rapidly. Bam! The dragon claw clawed down. One of its fingers swept towards the celestial god sect's man. Chapter 1276. The man from the heavenly god sect spat out mouthfuls of blood after being hit by the headless true dragon rider. The man from the heavenly god sect was horrified. Even with his cultivation, he could not stop the headless true dragon rider. Terrified, he used the secret talisman to break open the space and run for his life. Swoosh! Although the headless true dragon rider did not have a head, it seemed to be able to see everything. It thrust the dragon spear in its hand forward and a brilliant spear glow pierced through the space and disappeared into the void. Ah! A cry of agony was heard from a distance away. It was the voice of the man from the heavenly god sect. Following this, the voice fell silent and completely disappeared. Come again, kill without mercy. The headless true dragon rider said coldly. It then turned around and left, disappearing from the palace. The space outside the ruins of the deity suddenly cracked open and the man from the heavenly god sect stepped out from it. At this moment, he was in a sorry state. His body was covered in blood and his face was pale. Blood continued to flow out from his mouth. There was a bloody hole in his abdomen. A terrifying force was constantly eating away at his flesh. Even with his cultivation, he could not heal it immediately. Too powerful. The man from the heavenly god sect mumbled. He stared into the depths of the ruins of the deity with fear in his eyes. His cultivation had surpassed the third-layer martial royal realm. However, when facing the headless true dragon rider, he did not have much room to resist. If he did not have a life-saving treasure on him and wanted to escape at the same time, he would have stayed in the ruins of the deity forever. Even so, he was still severely injured. It would take a few months for him to recover.
How could there be such a dangerous place in the ruins of the deity? Damn it. Also, it's Lu Ming's fault. If it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been severely injured. I will send a message to the Southern God Palace and ask them to keep an eye on the ruins of the deity. Once that bastard Lu Ming appears, kill him without mercy. The man from the heavenly god sect's eyes flickered with a vicious light. He pondered for a moment before turning around and leaving the place. The core of the ruins of the deity. Lu Ming looked in the direction where the man from the heavenly god sect had left and said with a frown, "That guy is too powerful. He's not dead yet. I'm afraid he won't give up. The ruins of the deity is not a place for us. Let's leave immediately." Okay. Xian Yinqing also nodded without hesitation. The ruins of the deity sect was surrounded. Of the deity sect, before the deity sect. Lu Ming and Xian Yinqing immediately passed through the hall and exited the ruins of God from the opposite direction of the southern divine palace. To Lu Ming, there was not much of a threat in the ruins of God. Very soon, Lu Ming passed through the core of the ruins of God and rushed out of the ruins of God from another direction. Sects. Deity. Com Sect S. After flying for tens of millions of miles, it finally stopped. It was obviously not feasible to return to the southern deity palace by flying across the sea. Once they returned, the man from the heavenly god sect might seize the opportunity to assassinate them. It was too dangerous. Lu Ming planned to cross the sea and return to the divine desolate continent by himself. If Lu Ming's cultivation was before he came to the deity continent, it would be too difficult for him to cross the vast sea and return to the divine desolate continent. He didn't know how much time it would take. But now, Lu Ming's cultivation had reached the 8th level of the spirit god realm. His battle strength could even suppress a supreme being. He could rely on his own strength to return to the divine desolate continent. Little Qing, stay in the mountain and river diagram for this period of time. Lu Ming said to Xian Yinqing. Okay. Be careful. Xian Yinqing said. Xian Yinqing also knew that Lu Ming could only travel at full speed if she stayed in the mountain and river diagram. Don't worry. Lu Ming smiled slightly. Then, a white light shot out from between his eyebrows and enveloped Xian Yinqing. In the next moment, Xian Yinqing's figure disappeared as she was taken into the mountain and river diagram. Lu Ming's figure flashed and turned into a stream of light, disappearing from the place. Soon, Lu Ming flew for hundreds of millions of miles and found a hidden place. Lu Ming entered the mountain and river diagram. Xian Yinqing sat cross-legged under the Enlightenment ancient tree, cultivating wholeheartedly. Lu Ming came to another mountain peak. With a wave of his hand, piles of origin stones appeared in front of Lu Ming. That's right, Lu Ming was about to break through. Lu Ming currently had 5 types of intents. 4 of them were at the perfection of the 4th level. Only the earth intent was at the peak of the 4th level. With his current intent cultivation, he could raise his cultivation to the peak of the 9th level of the spirit god realm. Lu Ming planned to spend some time to devour and refine origin stones to raise his cultivation to the peak of the 9th level of the spirit god realm. This way, he would be much faster when traveling. Roar! The 9 dragons appeared and opened their mouths, swallowing a large pile of origin stones. There were a few million of them. He swallowed a few million origin stones in one gulp and started to refine them quickly. A large number of origin stones were constantly refined and turned into true essence. Lu Ming almost had no bottlenecks. His cultivation was rising crazily. After refining a few million origin stones, he swallowed another few million. Lu Ming's cultivation started to soar. Early 8th level of the spirit god realm, middle 8th level of the spirit god realm, late 8th level of the spirit god realm. 7 days later, Lu Ming broke through the barrier with a large number of origin stones and reached the 9th level of the spirit god realm. After reaching the 9th level of the spirit god realm, Lu Ming still didn't stop. He continued to devour and refine origin stones to raise his cultivation. Early 9th level of the spirit god realm, middle 9th level of the spirit god realm, late 9th level of the spirit god realm. After another 7 days, Lu Ming's cultivation reached the peak of the 9th level of the spirit god realm. In a short half a month, Lu Ming's cultivation had charged from the early 8th level of the spirit god realm to the peak of the 9th level of the spirit god realm. The leap was so great that it was shocking. Of course, this was also because Lu Ming's intent had reached the requirements long ago. Otherwise, intent would become a bottleneck and obstruct Lu Ming's breakthrough. As long as Lu Ming's intent broke through, he wouldn't have any bottlenecks. However, the amount of origin stones he consumed was also terrifying. In a short half a month, Lu Ming had devoured a total of 50 million origin stones. What kind of shocking amount was this? Huff. Huff, Lu Ming exhaled. He felt that the true essence in his body was about to overflow. It was unimaginably dense. When he exhaled, it formed a storm that swept into the distance. Lu Ming stood up and took a step forward. He charged out of the mountain river diagram and appeared in the sky above a mountain range. Boom! True essence boiled on Lu Ming's body, forming a pillar of air that shot into the sky and blasted a huge hole in the sky. So strong. A trace of a smile appeared on the corner of Lu Ming's mouth. He felt that there was inexhaustible energy in his body. The true essence of a peak 9th level spirit god was too strong. It was unknown how much stronger it was than the true essence of an early 8th level spirit god realm. Now, Lu Ming was confident that when facing an ordinary prime, Lu Ming could crush them and even kill them without the help of the lightning cauldron. Of course, it was a different story for primes who had awakened a 9th level divine rank bloodline. Let's go back to the divine desolate continent now. Chapter 1277. Given Lu Ming's current cultivation, he could tear apart space and travel like a supreme being. After tearing space apart, Lu Ming stepped in and disappeared. Within the spatial rift, there were chaotic spatial storms. They were like countless terrifying sharp blades that constantly slashed at Lu Ming. Lu Ming circulated his true essence and covered his entire body to resist the spatial storms around him. Clang! 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 The spatial storms slashed at Lu Ming's protective true essence and produced a clang. However, Lu Ming's true essence contained the 5-colored concept. The spatial storms couldn't break through Lu Ming's protective true essence at all. If a martial artist below the spiritual god realm entered this place, they would be crushed into pieces by the spatial storms in less than 2 moves. Even martial artists above the spiritual god realm wouldn't be able to last long. Only sovereigns could smoothly walk through the spatial storms. Lu Ming stepped out and walked through the spatial storms, moving forward quickly. This was a different space, so his speed was very fast. With a step, he had already traveled an unknown distance in the outside world. A moment later, the space trembled and Lu Ming reappeared in the outside world, above a lake. In just a moment, Lu Ming had crossed at least 100 million miles. However, the godly ruins continent was simply too vast. Hundreds of millions of miles were nothing to them. Lu Ming continued to tear space apart. After half a day, Lu Ming didn't know how much distance he had crossed. When Lu Ming appeared in the outside world again, he smelled the sea breeze. Looks like I've reached the seaside. I'll rest for a while before setting off. Lu Ming thought in his heart. Then, he found a place and took out an origin stone to recover. A few hours later, Lu Ming's true essence had completely recovered. Then, he flew forward. In front of him, there was a large city. From afar, it looked very majestic. Lu Ming planned to buy a sea map of the Divine Ruins continent in a big city. After all, the continents in the Divine Ruins continent were very far from each other. The area of the sea was far greater than the land, and the weather was very changeable on the sea. It was very easy to get lost, so one needed a sea map to find the Divine Wilderness continent. There are so many people in this city. Moreover, the ratio of experts is shockingly high. After flying into the city, Lu Ming discovered that the city was bustling with people coming and going. Experts could be seen walking on the streets from time to time. Some of them had extremely strong and powerful auras. There was also someone who was like an ordinary person without any aura. But with Lu Ming's current cultivation, he could still sense it. Supreme martial artist. Some of them were actually supreme beings. On the street, Lu Ming actually bumped into a few supreme beings, which made Lu Ming extremely shocked. Even in the godly ruins continent, supremes were high and mighty experts. It was rare to see them. Now, just by casually walking around on the street, he actually bumped into a few supremes. This was somewhat unbelievable. Something was wrong. Lu Ming felt that something was wrong. It was impossible for supreme beings to appear casually. Something must have happened here. Soon, Lu Ming went up to a restaurant. There was often a lot of information to be gathered in a restaurant. Sure enough, not long after, Lu Ming heard an important piece of news. Some time ago, there was a shocking piece of news near the southern coast of the godly ruins continent. It was said that a heaven-defying secret technique, pure spirit body, was about to be born on the southern coast. If a martial artist wanted to break through to the martial emperor realm, they had to condense a spirit body. Every martial artist had awakened different bloodlines, so the spirit body they condensed would be different and its power would be different. A spirit body had already surpassed a mortal body. It was a world of difference compared to a mortal body. There was no comparison at all. A spirit body not only contained terrifying power, but also greatly increased one's combat strength. Moreover, the strength, defense, and recovery of a spirit body had reached an incredible level. It was not something a mortal body could compare to. Even if a ruler's hands and feet were cut off, they could quickly grow back. It was said that a peak ruler could recover even if only a small piece of flesh was left. They were simply immortal. However, it was too difficult to condense a spirit body. It was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Many supremes had comprehended the embryonic form of domains. In terms of domains, there were no big problems. However, the reason why they were stuck and some could not break through for the rest of their lives was that they could not condense a spirit body. If one could not condense a spirit body, one would not be a ruler and would never be able to break through to the martial emperor realm. Moreover, when condensing a spirit body, one would also face heavenly tribulations. The difficulty would increase with each tribulation. It was said that this secret technique called pure spirit body was not a real spirit body. This was because a spirit body was transformed from a bloodline. It had some of the attributes and functions of a bloodline. However, a pure spirit body only had pure physical strength and did not have any attributes. It only allowed a martial artist's body to have part of the power of a spirit body. For example, strength, defense, recovery, and so on. Moreover, a pure spirit body did not have any attributes. It would not obstruct the cultivation of a real spirit body in the future. Successfully cultivating a pure spirit body was equivalent to having a solid foundation. In the future, if one wanted to cultivate a real spirit body, the difficulty would be greatly reduced. This secret technique was too shocking. For martial artists below rulers, the temptation was unimaginable. Therefore, when this news spread, it caused a huge commotion. Countless powerhouses rushed to the southern coast of the Divine Ruins continent. Even many supremes were tempted and rushed over. This was also the reason why Lu Ming saw so many powerhouses in this city. The secret technique pure spirit body was too shocking. As long as one succeeded in cultivating it, the difficulty of breaking through to the ruler realm in the future would be greatly reduced, and the success rate would be greatly increased. Even Lu Ming's eyes lit up when he heard this. There's actually such a profound secret technique in the world. If I succeed in cultivating it, I'll have another powerful method to deal with DE when I return to the Divine Wilderness continent. Lu Ming thought to himself. When he returned to the Divine Wilderness continent, he would definitely face DE. Although Lu Ming's combat strength had greatly improved, it was still difficult for him to face a ruler, let alone a powerhouse like DE. He had to continue to increase his combat strength so that he would have a greater chance. Pure Spirit Body was undoubtedly a powerful secret technique that could close the distance between him and a ruler. If Lu Ming succeeded in cultivating it, the gap between his body and that of a ruler would not be too big. I don't know if it's true or not, but I don't care. Anyway, I'm not in a hurry to go back, so I'll stay here and observe. After making up his mind, Lu Ming found an inn nearby to stay and inquire about the news. The next day, a piece of news spread out. There might be news about Pure Spirit Body in the Red Devil Mountains thousands of kilometers away. As soon as the news spread out, countless people rushed to the Red Devil Mountains. Lu Ming followed the crowd and rushed toward the Red Devil Mountains. The Red Devil Mountains had a radius of thousands of kilometers and were boundless. It was filled with a red demonic chi, so it was called the Red Devil Mountains. As soon as the huge crowd rushed into the Red Devil Mountains, they were like gravel scattered in the sea, unable to stir up any waves. Chapter 1278. Wandering around aimlessly like this was not a solution at all. There was no way he could find the Pure Spirit Body. I'd better wait outside for news. Wandering around like this is purely a waste of time. Thinking of this, Lu Ming did not continue to stay and flew out of the Red Demon Mountain. Whoosh! 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 When he passed by a large canyon, a few figures rushed out of the canyon and surrounded Lu Ming. Lu Ming frowned slightly. These few people all had violent auras and were surrounded by demonic chi. They stared at Lu Ming with unfriendly eyes. Another fat sheep. This is already the third one. One of the burly men laughed. Those people really thought that there was information about the Pure Spirit Body here and ran here desperately. It's really convenient for us brothers. The more we kill, the more we can live freely for a few more years. A skinny old man sneered. Don't talk nonsense with him. Kid, it's your bad luck to bump into us. One of the burly men looked at Lu Ming coldly and walked towards Lu Ming step by step. It seems that not only do you want to rob, but you also want to kill. Lu Ming spoke. His voice was very calm, without a trace of panic. He had already seen through the cultivation of these people. The strongest burly man was only a perfected spirit god. Lu Ming did not take him seriously at all. That's right. If we don't kill you and you spread the news, not only will we not be able to continue, but we will also be surrounded. So, you must die. The burly man revealed a ferocious smile. He took a step forward and appeared in front of Lu Ming. A pitch-black saber appeared in his hand, emitting a cold murderous intent. He slashed at Lu Ming. But in the next moment, the burly man was stunned. The others were also stunned. This was because Lu Ming merely stretched out one palm and pinched the battle saber gently. Regardless of how the burly man tried, he could not pull out the battle saber. The battle saber was pinched by Lu Ming and was as steady as a rock. How is this possible? The burly man roared madly. His voice was filled with disbelief. Boom! The quintessence in Lu Ming's body burst out. A terrifying energy flowed from his fingers and blasted into the other party's saber. Wang! The saber violently vibrated, and the berserk power flowed through the saber into the burly man's body. The burly man's body violently shook, and he could no longer hold on to the saber. His body madly retreated, and he spat out large mouthfuls of blood. Kill! Lu Ming suddenly shouted, and a terrifying killing intent burst out like a tide. He took a step forward, and his palm slashed out like a blade towards the burly man. That terrifying power caused the burly man's heart to tremble. Block it! The tall and sturdy man roared madly. He used bloodline fusion and erupted with his full strength, hoping to block Lu Ming's move. Bang! The moment they exchanged blows, the burly man's bloodline, as well as his body, was torn apart. Even the spirit divinity couldn't escape and was killed by Lu Ming in a single move. Ordinary perfection stage spirit god realm martial artists were as weak as babies in front of Lu Ming and couldn't withstand a single blow. How could this be? Run! When the remaining few people saw this scene, their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Then, they screamed in horror and fled in all directions. It's too late to run now. Lu Ming sneered, and his figure flashed rapidly. Soon, a few miserable screams resounded in the mountain forest. The remaining few people were all killed by Lu Ming, and their storage rings were all in Lu Ming's hands. Lu Ming's figure flashed, and he left this place. Not long after, Lu Ming left the Red Devil Mountain, and sat cross-legged on a mountain peak that wasn't very high, waiting for news. Those guys have been killing and robbing. I wonder if there's anything good? Since he had nothing to do, Lu Ming took out the storage rings of the few people he had just killed, and casually counted them. These guys were indeed very rich. The total amount of origin stones was close to 50 million, and there were also various kinds of spirit weapons and spirit herbs. Obviously, these guys had robbed many people during this period of time, and they were filthy rich. Suddenly, a metal box caught Lu Ming's attention. Lu Ming opened the metal box, and found a rolled-up picture inside. The picture was made of some unknown material. It was light in his hand, and the texture was very soft. Lu Ming opened it, and his eyes couldn't help but narrow. It seemed to be a map, but the drawing was very complicated. The lines crisscrossed, and for a moment, Lu Ming was a little dazzled. Map? Could it be related to the pure spirit body? Lu Ming's heart couldn't help but move, and then he smiled and shook his head. It couldn't be so coincidental that he could get the map of the pure spirit body after killing a group of bandits. I'll find some time to study it. Lu Ming smiled faintly and put away the map. He then meditated and adjusted his breath, waiting quietly. 3 days passed, and many people came out of the Red Devil Mountain. In these few days, many experts had almost turned the entire Red Devil Mountain upside down, but there was no news of the pure spirit body. Damn, I've probably been tricked. If I find out who tricked me, I'll cut him into 8 pieces. Damn it, there's nothing here. What a waste of time. Some experts cursed and left the Red Devil Mountain. Lu Ming also left the Red Devil Mountain and returned to the city. When everyone returned to the city, they heard an important piece of news. It was said that someone had obtained a map to find the pure spirit body. Through the map, one could find the location of the pure spirit body. There were already many experts chasing after the person who had the map. And the direction was south, toward the sea. When the news came out, it caused a commotion. Many experts hurried out of the city and flew toward the south. Map? Lu Ming's eyes flashed, and he couldn't help but think of the map he had obtained from the group of bandits. There can't be 2 maps, right? Lu Ming shook his head, and also left the city, heading toward the south. Everyone was as fast as lightning. They crossed a long distance and finally stopped at a swamp. Because there were many people around the periphery of the swamp. The person who obtained the map is a supreme being. Someone spread the news, and most people's expressions changed. If a supreme being obtained the map, who could snatch it from him? Warriors below the Supreme Being level were simply courting death. No wonder so many people surrounded the periphery of the swamp and didn't dare to enter. I know which Supreme Being it is. It should be the 100-poisoned Supreme Being. He obtained the map and fled into the endless swamp. There are already Supreme Being experts in there. I heard that the son of the Southern Divine Palace's sea-suppressing general led many Supreme Beings in there. It's definitely going to be a big battle. Many people were discussing. This news made most of the warriors stop in their tracks, and they didn't dare to enter. Obviously, the endless swamp would become a battlefield for Supreme Beings. If others entered, there was no hope of obtaining the map, and they might even lose their lives. Whoosh! Suddenly, a figure rushed into the swamp and disappeared. Who is that? How dare he enter? Nonsense, that's a Supreme Being. Chapter 1279. At the same time that Supreme Exalts appeared from time to time, it caused everyone to be shocked and slightly excited. This time, countless Supreme Exalts would be drawn over. Look, who's that? He actually dares to go in? Suddenly, someone cried out. Everyone looked over and noticed a young man was walking through the air towards the swamp. This young man was naturally Lu Ming. It really is him. That kid really doesn't want to live anymore. He actually dares to charge in. How audacious. In my opinion, he isn't audacious, and he's overestimating his ability. He's blinded by greed. A battle between Supreme Exalts is extremely dangerous. Once one is affected, then only death awaits. This kid will die a long time ago. Exactly. He's overestimating his ability. How old does he look? How formidable could his cultivation be? Lu Ming's flight towards the swamp caused a wave of discussion. Lu Ming heard these discussions clearly, but Lu Ming couldn't be bothered to pay attention to them. He flew forward by himself and vanished in the blink of an eye. But then again, it's rare to see so many Supreme Exalts fighting. Wouldn't it be a pity to miss it just like that? That's true. Could it be that you want to go in and watch? That's too dangerous. We'll hide in the distance and watch. If the situation isn't right, then we'll retreat right away. There shouldn't be any problems. Someone spoke and revealed an expression of desire. A battle between Supreme Exalts was rare. Especially when many Supreme Exalts were fighting, it was extremely beneficial to some 9th-level Spirit God Realm cultivators and especially Perfection Stage Spirit God Realm cultivators. Perhaps watching Supreme Exalts utilize the embryonic form of domains would arouse inspiration and allow some Perfection Stage Spirit God Realm cultivators to comprehend the embryonic form of domains more quickly and step into the Exalt realm. These words caused many people to reveal expressions of desire. Let's go. It should be fine if we watch from afar. That kid from before probably had the same thought. Someone spoke, and then he flew towards the swamp. Since there was a first, there was a second. After that, many people flew towards the swamp. Some 8th level, 9th level, and Perfection Stage Spirit God Realm experts rushed towards the swamp. Of course, people with lower cultivations really didn't dare to enter the swamp because the gap between them was too great. If a battle were to occur, then they wouldn't even be able to flee. Lu Ming continued forward. All around him was a boundless swamp. However, along the way, from time to time, he would see traces left behind by great battles. Lu Ming followed these traces and chased all the way. An hour later, several figures appeared in the void ahead. There were 3 of them. One was an old man, and the other was a middle-aged man. All of them had powerful auras. They were actually all Supreme Being level experts. However, these 3 people were standing around a young man, protecting him in the middle. It was obvious that this young man was their leader. Only at the 3rd level of the Spirit God Realm. With a sweep of his spiritual sense, Lu Ming discovered that this young man was only at the third level of the spirit god realm. It could be said that his cultivation was very low, and Lu Ming didn't take him seriously at all. However, this young man's identity was obviously very unusual, and he had several supreme beings guarding him. The other party also saw Lu Ming. That young man glanced coldly at Lu Ming. "Humph, you overestimate yourself. You actually dared to chase me all the way here. You're really courting death." The young man snorted with a disdainful sneer on his face. Swoosh! At this moment, a figure flew over from afar. It was a white-haired old man, and he was also a Supreme Being level expert. The white-haired old man came to the young man's side and bowed. "Young master, we've found out that 100 poison supremacy is hiding in the dark swamp ahead. He used the poisonous gas of the dark swamp to set up a poisonous gas formation. Humph, does 100 poison supremacy think that he can stop us with a mere poisonous gas? How naive. Let's attack together and break open the poisonous gas formation and kill 100 poison supremacy." The young man gave the order and led a few 9 Heaven Supremes forward. They didn't even look at Lu Ming, completely ignoring Lu Ming. In their opinion, Lu Ming was just a person who came in to watch the show out of curiosity. He posed no threat to them and could be completely ignored. Soon, a dull rumbling sound came from ahead. Obviously, someone had attacked. Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He stepped out and flew towards the source of the sound. At this moment, a large group of people appeared behind Lu Ming. They were all 8th layer, 9th layer, and even perfect stage spirit god experts. They were all here. There are fluctuations of a great battle ahead. It must be a supreme being. Let's move forward carefully and watch from afar. Someone suggested. Everyone nodded and headed towards the source of the sound. Soon, Lu Ming arrived at his destination. In front of him was a dark swamp. Dense black poisonous gas floated above the swamp. It looked extremely terrifying. Within the black poisonous gas, there were inscriptions flickering. Various colorful poisonous gases spread out and combined with the black poisonous gas to display an even greater power. The young man was standing in the void. Beside him were 2 supreme beings guarding. In front of him, there were 3 supreme beings attacking the black mist continuously. The terrifying power caused the black mist to tumble, but it couldn't be broken in a short time. Humph, 100 poison supremacy's poisonous gas formation is quite powerful. You two, attack together and break the formation. The young man ordered the 2 supreme beings beside him. Master, we can't do that. This place is too dangerous. Let's leave. If anything happens to you, we won't be able to explain it to the commander. One of the supreme beings shook his head. The godly ruins continent was too vast. The southern sacred palace ruled over a large area in the southern part of the godly ruins continent, but it was difficult for them to control everything. Therefore, the southern sacred palace would deploy a few commanders to lead the army and guard the various areas. The young man's father was the commander of the southern sacred palace guarding the coastal area. He had a high position and an unfathomable cultivation. There were many experts under his command. This time, he had brought a total of 5 supreme beings for the pure spirit body. It was a huge investment. Who dares to touch me in this coastal area? Don't worry, go and help me break the poisonous gas formation of 100 poison supremacy. The young man ordered. His tone was filled with confidence. But, the 2 supreme beings were still hesitating. Whoosh! Whoosh! At that instant, the space rippled and 2 figures appeared not far away. The auras of the 2 figures were extremely strong, indicating that they were both supreme beings. The young man was overjoyed as he said, "I'm the son of the ocean-suppressing great general, Hai Tian. 100 poison supremacy is hiding in the poisonous gas formation. If you help me break the formation, I'll reward you handsomely. The son of the ocean-suppressing great general? The faces of the two supreme beings changed slightly, revealing a hint of fear. But it was only a hint. One of them said, "We can work together, but if there's a map of the pure spirit body later, we'll compete for it with our own strength. Are you trying to negotiate with me?" Hai Tian's face turned cold. Hee, of course, even though you're the son of the ocean-suppressing great general, we're also from the southern sacred palace. The ocean-suppressing great general won't be able to suppress us. One of the supreme beings said with a hollow laugh. They were both supreme beings with extraordinary backgrounds. Even though they were slightly intimidated by Hai Tian, they were not afraid of him. You're tuning in to the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.